Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mosaic with TJ Randolph. I am TJ Randolph, and welcome to another iteration of Cocktails and Conversations. Before I bring up my very special guest, I want to thank all of you who have stopped by. I appreciate it. I got to give my announcements. I just got to do it. Um, First, shout out to my hardworking baby, my trucker man who just went back to work after a 2-week vacation. And a shout out to all the hardworking truck drivers traveling the highways and the byways, bringing us our goods and services. Okay. I want to shout out to my firstborn nephew on the horn, Rhyan Spunk Adams. You heard his music. I always shout him out, my firstborn nephew. You can follow him or you can find him on Spotify, Spunk Adams. Also, you can follow him on IG on I Am Spunk. Let's see what else. Also, shout out to Micki-Redd Creates. I want to thank her for helping me and really just taking the lead on my digital branding because that's just not my forte. So I want to thank all of you for that. I want to give a few hellos. Hey, the Clue Channel. I told you I'm nervous. I'm nervous. KP from KC, yes. To Mr. Anderson. Okay, he's going to bring the show enough funk. Okay, and I am so honored that he agreed to come. Shout out to Big Bad Bull in the house. Gun Streets. Is that mystical? Is your you understand me? Is that mystical? Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to bring up the one, the only Edward Henderson. Mr. Anderson. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I had it on mute. So what is up? What is up?
Nothing. I have been waiting all week to say just that from Matrix. Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, I get that a lot. And before that, I got like Allen Iverson because of how my name is spelled, but it's all good.
Thank you for agreeing to join this cocktails and conversation with me. I see you got your cocktail. I put mine in the description. I am having a mudslide. The ingredients are in the description. This is a frou-frou drink, but I am a lightweight and I'm not ashamed to say it. But it does have vodka in here. Okay, so there's a little bit of something. Okay. When I asked Mr. Anderson to send me a picture for the thumbnail, he sent me his picture. You all have seen it on the thumbnail. But before we get into this thing, I got to share something with you. Because I said he looked like he could really be my real life nephew. Y'all saw my nephew on the horn, Rhyan Spunk Adams. But I'm about to share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. He looked like he could really be related to me. Okay, hold on a minute. Uh-oh. See it? I don't know why it's twitching, like my eye or something.
Oh wow. Sometimes that's how computers are.
Look, he look like he could be really in my real life family. Okay? Light-skinned, got them light eyes. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree with me. I'm just saying. I said, you could really be my real life nephew. Okay. So, Mr. Anderson, I have been watching some of your content for a while, and I think I became acquainted with you. Actually, it was either on through Shannon Rawls, or I may have seen you on Lapeef.
It was on Shannon's. I haven't been on the Lapeef stuff. Probably the closest I'll get to Lapeef, and that's nothing to them at all. It's just I know how I am. So that's more to protect them from me. It'll probably be like JB. And Shannon's great, but it's interesting how their network works because there's a lot of satellite channels. I kind of consider you like a satellite channel of theirs. So it's a very good setup as to how they have what they have. So it's really smart. As a marketer, I have a lot of respect for that, how they set their stuff up.
And I have to give a shout out to JR and Lapeef Network because, again, that is when I started my YouTube journey in May of last year. Mm-hmm. That's how I kind of became, I guess, known for some of those who knew me early on, is because I would call into their show and give my commentary about some of the ridiculousness I saw in the behavior that really bothered me. But again, I think some of it has to do with my age, and I just don't understand certain things.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of people got to know me through a couple of different avenues. Like BGS Igmore used to have a coliseum where he would
Mhm.
literally run hangouts for 8 hours. He did that literally every weekend, maybe missed only one for like 2 years. And within that 2 years, he actually used to do something called BGS for women, which he'd have a 4 hour one. And that was like Crimson Cure was on that, and a woman by the name of Char Willie, which is kind of like Gail. She was kind of everywhere helping, and she's really, really great. And it's interesting, like, she's in Chicago, Char Willie, JR's in Chicago. I'm from Chicago. So, yeah. But that's how I got known. I also got known through O'Shea,
Mhm.
O'Shea's Rumble. And then I used to call in the Angry Man. That was like a different time. And so that's one of the things about how we tend to do in this niche of YouTube is we
Mhm.
tend to very much so leverage it like social media, using the social media aspect of YouTube versus the search. So when you look at people coming up like the Lapeef Network, I call it like the post Kevin Samuels kind of boom. So Lapeef Network, the lead attorney, and it's bringing a lot of people that those people can they can aggregate to there as well as you all's content is very unique how we use social media because you don't really see that used that way in other sectors. And I'm in other sectors of social media as well, more as a consumer, but a few as a creator also.
So, with that, how long have you been a content creator in this YouTube environment, and what inspired you to do so?
As far as like a content creator in this space, I've been a content creator in this space. My channel is 5 years old. It just passed the 5 year old mark. So I pretty much gained like 1,000 subscribers every year.
Mhm.
And yeah. And so you can go and see it's 2022. So we can start like late 2016, September 2016. But I've been on panels probably since 2014. And I was on Blog Talk Radio as well in the early
Mhm.
days. It's like I co-hosted for a little bit, but I've been an official YouTube creator for about 5 years now in this space. But I've been around for a long time, and that's how people got to know me and stuff like that. I was yeah. Yeah. So I've been around for a minute. People would know me as a panelist, like when you see people get on panels and stuff. But as far as an
Mhm.
official content creator, about 5 years.
Now, okay, so with that, what prompted you to become a content creator? Because I will say, I listen to your stuff, and you know, you are spitting fire. But what cracks me up sometimes, you just be like, bitches.
To
I
be,
mean, you were going in.
I mean, to be fair, I don't, I go in on dudes too when it comes to, you know, I actually have a lot more latitude. It's kind of interesting because how I am on other people's channels is going to be a little bit different. If I have people on even if I have people on my stuff when I'm interviewing them, even if I
Mhm.
disagree, that's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be more on let's actually get to the nitty gritty of what we disagree with from a understanding where the actual like really thin lines are and
Right.
to create clarity more so. I'm not here to really be right. Now when you see me on a lot of my car rants, and that's another thing about my channel, a lot of channels there's a lot of content creators has been deleted, disabled. I'm talking about ones that they don't go nearly as hard as I do, that's had their channels canceled out because different eras of YouTube wanted different things. Like there was a time that you didn't have really a live stream era of YouTube, so they
Okay.
didn't value live stream. This is like pre-Twitch, which Twitch is a gaming app that's owned by Amazon, and that's one of YouTube's main competitors. So YouTube wanted to give the live stream experience to their people, so they kind of let that go. That's where super chats and stuff came in, so everybody
Okay.
wouldn't be chasing high subscriber count. But back then, you even had a situation back in the day where you would do response videos where it was literally a reply. And you can make a video to some people. That's actually where a lot of the reply and reaction stuff actually comes from in the culture. But the way I did my stuff was I purposely didn't monetize my channel. I purposely
Mm.
mistitled my stuff. I kept it raw. I kept it kind of raggedy and struggle streamers, as O'Shea would say. So, because I wasn't really here to make money, I was here more
Okay.
for a message. There's nothing wrong with making money. If you're on YouTube, you need to get paid for your time. But the
Right.
main important thing I wanted to do is communicate something that's not really talked about in the Black community, and that's culture and the social dynamics and how we relate to each other and the problems it seems like nobody wants to speak about. And so when I was on BGS Igmore stuff, part of it to be funny was I would suck up a lot of oxygen in a room and people started to get tired of it. you know. So I said, okay, let me dissipate that a little bit by creating my own channel. That's what they will tell you too on the other side of that. But also, I wanted to really hammer into why we weren't working together. And to be fair, it didn't even start off with women. It started
Mhm.
off with me having, I'm what you call an economic pro-black, meaning I am pro-black, but my primary way of viewing what we're doing as a community is by way of Dr. Claude Anderson. So the
Okay.
five floors, how we economic relate each other. And so I was really going in with BGS on why black men weren't working together and what was the problem. Why is it? And this is not just street dudes. This is, suburban guys, because I'm more in the middle. And why, no matter hip hop, whatever, no matter what you see area of activity, it's always is this rivalry that somehow tears stuff down. Even when women are nowhere near in the room, and mostly when they're nowhere in the room, right? And so what we came down is black men are competing for women, even when women are not there.
Mm.
I've called that Highlander syndrome after the movie Highlander, where they can only be one.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
some people will call it people having a Luciferian complex. So we say that's coded into the culture. And then when we wonder where do people get socialized with that, then we start to look at the socialization, what makes the culture want to do that. And you see that till this day in this space to a certain extent. But that's really how that came about. And the question I really want to answer is that I answered it. I started to learn the 9 areas of activity. I forget who's the honorable person who created that. They'll give it in the chat, but it's somebody created that. And then Dr. Clark Anderson's 5 floors. And I realized culture is under all of this. Economics may be the most important, but culture can infect every area of activity. And this is the one thing nobody is talking about. Pro blacks, black church, black politicians, people on social media, in the media, nobody talks about that. And as black people, we don't really talk about our culture. And that was
No,
before
we don't.
ADOS became a thing. So yeah.
We don't. And I'm gonna tell you something. I was listening to one of your broadcasts today. I think you did it from yesterday. Let me see if I can pull it up. But basically, you said I'm not going to be diplomatic in this or something like. Oh Lord, let me close my door. My dog is. Hold on. I'm
Hmm.
sorry.
No, you're fine. Absolutely. Yeah, guys, this is going to be very share friendly. I'm not going to do any wilding out like y'all are used to on my stuff. It's like I'm in my house. So when I'm in my house, I can talk how I want to. So y'all can
Well,
definitely
listen,
share this. Don't be afraid. Talking to the
and
chat.
and I want you to be, and one of the reasons that I wanted you to come on because I knew that you were going to be honest. And one thing I will say, even when I've called into your chats and stuff like that, you've always been very kind to me, very respectful to me, very open. And you've even shouted me out at one time as it relates to me reaching out to my husband and about
Yeah.
how, and that's real. As a matter of fact, before we get too deep in it, do you mind if I share a clip that me and my husband were on Uncle Stu earlier this week?
Hmm.
And I just want to share this tidbit with you and get your thoughts on it as well as the chats, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
We're sipping and chatting. That's what we doing. Hold on, let me pull it up. I gush when I see my baby. I'm just saying. I just do. And for the ladies in the audience, I posted something in my community page about what I did for my husband. Y'all need to get a hold of that. I'm trying to grow y'all if y'all want some of this. If y'all want some of this love, interaction, in a sense of appreciation for your men showing appreciation to you, you need to get a hold of what I'm trying to say because I drew a bath for my honey yesterday. He came home from his physical therapy. I had the bubble bath working with the candles so he could have the jets going. I'm telling y'all, ladies, I'm trying to grow you. Anyway, let me share this if I may. Okay. Okay, here we go.
Well, I gotta ask you, Mr. Randolph, because we always hear your name, at least on this side, we always hear your name. We always hear about you. And unless everybody go across town to go see my big sister, they don't get a chance to see you. So tell us, us brothers, how did you meet that woman right there?
Well, it was. about 3 years, a little 3 years ago. It was only about 6 miles between us.
Okay.
And, I came across her on a dating site and saw that smile and saw that face. And I said, save. I didn't say anything to her.
I like that.
Well, after reading her profile, I thought, this woman is, she wouldn't be interested in it's an average guy like me. So I just pressed the save button, and just kept on strolling and, just, and that's how we met basically on a dating site. And it took off from there, man. It just took off from there, and we just been rolling like a rolling stone since then. No looking back, no doubts, no regrets. It just spiraled from there.
Awesome. You said that you just put her on save because you defined yourself, at least at that time, as an average man. What made her appear to be, let's say, more than an average woman, and you saw yourself as an average man?
Well, she was well accomplished, uh, uh, military woman, retired, and uh, educated woman, beautiful, uh, uh, and I don't know, man. I'm just a blue collar guy, and so I didn't think she would be interested, so I just kept her saved, and apparently she's seen it and took the initiative.
Okay.
So when she took the initiative, that told me she was interested. So I took it and rolled with it.
Okay, your thoughts thus far on that part? You're muted.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Quick on the trigger. Yeah, it's interesting. I just got done a little while ago watching the second part of Cam Newton and Brittany Renner interview, and Cam asked her about this very same situation about, if you see a guy that you want, would you approach him, or would you at least put yourself in position to be seen? And she pretty much, that's where they kind of came to basically agree on that. She will put herself in position to be seen and let him make the choice. So clearly you saw the save part, so you saw there with interest, so you just nudged it a little bit further so he can do exactly what he did, which is roll with it. And that's really interesting, because the thing you got to realize about people like my age and younger is, because we're on social media. I'm 35, so I'm still in that age where if you want to talk to somebody, you need to approach them, or you have to make a direct approach, if you're a guy. And fortunately, a lot of the younger people, it's so much in digital media, DMs and stuff like that. That's been lost a little bit, and I get some of the reasons why, but still, it's lost a little bit more than what it is. So yeah, I remember that story. And another thing too is, one of the reasons why, specifically why I praised what you said, is because, as much as I'm known for saying what people don't do, I am very good at showing what should happen. So, like, for instance, let's talk about something that often gets talked about, which is the weight issue amongst our women. On my Facebook, I have shown, I don't say, oh, well, women need to lose weight. No, I show women that have lost weight, meaning women there before. I'm talking about women on their Instagram. They put their before and after picture, and I actually saw them do the work, because maybe they had a travel channel, or had some other reason I was subscribed to them, and they would look at their before, and they lost like 150 pounds or something like that, and they look great. And I would say it can happen. So that's the way I communicate that, rather than saying, oh, well, you need to lose this. Look at what this person looks like. And I made sure they didn't have surgery or nothing like that. And look at what they used to look like. And are you saying that you wouldn't have better outcomes of what you want, independent of what a man is talking about, if you could do that? And then that way too, I put their social media on there, so if they wanted to like reach out to those people, they can do that, because it's better them talking about their stuff than me, and there's women talking to other women. So I do show a lot of times with my rants not necessarily all I do. I do show this is what it needs to be as well as this is what it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
At least I put that out there. Now that's just my
Yeah.
opinion, but I try not to just say these are what the problems is and in the end.
Well, and see, and that's one of the things, I laughed and I was joking before, and some, you go in sometimes, but I will say I peel through or pierce through the meat of what you're saying, and you be speaking now. I'm like, this young man, I mean, no condescension here. I'm like, this young man is really growing people real. Once you get past the rant and the bitch and but I'm like, he's growing people real in a real way. And somebody put in the chat that you are a historian, but again, as I think they said, call it bars. I'm like, because today when I was listening, when you were talking about the difference between Zennials and Millennials, I'm like, you know what? I hadn't even thought about it like that. I
Yeah,
hadn't even thought about
absolutely.
it.
And as far as me doing all the cussing and stuff, even my mom would hate that. But I'm gonna have to chill out on that anyway because honestly, YouTube don't like it. So my stuff is automatically unlimited. So if anything, if I want some money, I'm gonna have to just find some other words with that. And when I and that's part of being from Chicago too. When there's a difference between calling a chick a bitch
Mm-hmm.
where which if I do that, I am doing that versus me just saying it. That's kind of a Chicago thing too. When we just say it in passing, it's not the greatest thing, but it is what it is. But it ain't really meant the same way that we say it. But yeah, if I want to get monetized, I'm gonna have to chill on that anyway. So it's gonna fix itself one way or the other. But yeah, man, and I'm more likely. Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, as far as the historian stuff, look, we have a lot of great people in the space. And I
Mm-hmm.
definitely make sure if I got something from someone else, I shout them out. Because I try to be an aggregate the space. When people say librarian or historian, I want you to see how expansive the space is. And as new people are coming into the space, like Uncle Stu and stuff like that, I definitely want to do my little part in kind of rail gunning them up because a lot of times it's hard when you're getting those initial subscribers. And that's really what this is kind of supposed to be about, giving people different opinions from different perspectives. I don't have every perspective. There's certain
Right.
people that can say the same thing I'm saying, and because you see what they look like, they're a lawyer, they're accomplished, they have kids. I don't have kids. They have a certain experience. You may receive it differently. So I try to do that, and it's not just men. I used to have a list of like women that I would keep in a spreadsheet as far as YouTube channels to kind of reflect what I talk about, and they say it in their own way. So, like for
Mm-hmm.
instance, there's a woman by the name of Love Dorsey that,
Oh, she grows them completely real. Okay.
yeah,
She, Jesus.
absolutely. And the thing is, when you look at her background and where she's from and how she comes off, she may turn some people off. I mean, if she comes to YouTube, she blow up or whatever. I'm not trying to get cussed out because she said she's not coming on YouTube because people keep asking her. But she can communicate with certain people better than I can because of the
Mm-hmm.
experiences. And that's
Right.
really what this is about. It's not so much about what's being said, it's about who's receiving it and how. And sometimes they're not going to receive it from you. They're just not. And you have to accept that.
Yeah. I'm learning that too because again, as much as I try to help, but a lot of times they're not trying to hear it from me because one, I'm 54, I'm in Gen X. A lot of different people in these spaces think that Gen X and baby boomers are the problem anyway, so they're not trying to hear nothing we have to say. But then there are some that will. So those are the ones that I try to reach. Those are the ones that I try to show them based on the stuff that I did, everything I did wrong, because even here, you heard my husband talk about why he thought that I wouldn't be interested because I was accomplished and et cetera, et cetera. Well, to that point, and I don't want to, I'm getting off a tangent, but here, I
That's fine.
put in my profile what I thought would be impressive. Little did I know that it was sending a message that I might not be interested in him. And that's not the message that I was trying to send. So going back to some of these things, we women and men, we don't know how to communicate with each other in the sense that we women give what we think is a marketing uh, a plus, but in some instances it could be to our detriment. As opposed to me saying, I'm loving, I'm this, I'm supportive, and this is what I could, what I'll do for a man. I didn't do that. I led with the military stuff, the this, that, and the other. So I think that there is one of the things I'm trying to do in this space is to share, okay, these are some of the things that I did wrong, even up until my 50s, that could have kept me from meeting the man of my life, the love of my lifetime, had I not taken the chance. If that
No,
makes any sense.
no, that makes every kind of sense. And I mean, I won't say complete historical. This is more recent with the blue collar thing, because
Mhm.
really, before the 80s, if you had a job, you were productive, you made money. Obviously, it was a different economic era too, which in the Midwest, working for Ford and all that. So if you were working and you were employed, I always say this: the most masculinity that black men have is like when you look at all of the various groups generally are housed in the blue collar brothers. Also, the maximum amount of wealth, as far as what's spread out, is generally housed in the blue collar brothers as well. Because we don't have that many. We have a lot of white collar, but we don't have that. We have a lot more blue collar brothers than white collar brothers. There's more.
Right.
You're more likely to make upper in the tens of thousands, like 80, 90, 100, in the blue collar fields than you, as far as what you see the count of black men at, than you are necessarily dudes that are really penetrating the white collar fields like that. And then
Right.
part of that is there's a lot of reasons why that is, but it is what it is. But you can look at after the 80s, because I was born in 86, that changed because it became more about fast money and the status is associated with that. And then,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of reasons for that. But going back to what you were specifically saying, yeah, men look for different things than women look for. So a lot of that resume, military, all of that can communicate masculinity amongst a man. It's this feminism. We're all equal. Like, I'll say this: people can debate the equality part, but to me, anybody saying that we're the same is an idiot.
I would
Because
agree.
even if you say, "Oh, well, we're equal," because I tend to look at it like yin and yang, opposite sides, but it takes up the same space. That's what I used to say. But anybody saying we're the same, and I'm not going to get into the labels as far as the different parties. 'Cause I'm technically a Democrat, but I'm not a liberal. So I'm not going to get into all of that. But anybody that says we're the same, they don't know what they're talking about. And if you, they
I
don't.
agree.
And
I
and
agree.
that is what, and I would say that is the damage that's really been done to a lot of women. Because truth be told, men have been expected to do the same things we always have. It's just people think we're supposed to do more of that. It's the women that have been told they gotta be the boss bee and all of this, but somehow still but still be able to get a man that's higher. So my point is, what's the point of you being a boss bee if you want to do to make even more money? Was it the point for you to be able to pick on different factors, like maybe looks, this, that, because you got your own money? But they're not told this. And when I say they, there's a lot of levels to that. So yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. Again, I've shared this before for those of you who don't know. Me and KS, we all went to school together. So
Oh wow.
he's 2 years younger than me, but we went to the same high school, and we also went to the same university, the University of Oklahoma. And some of the stuff that he's saying now in these platforms, he's always said. But again, I'm a Delta, so when he was talking about these things, in our youth, we were like, okay, you don't know what you're talking about. Beat it, scram, little boy. I'm just joking because
No,
again,
I get it.
but he was speaking, bars, as y'all say. But again, I had to go back and admit to him and say, listen, I think it was actually November of not last year, but the year before. You were right, because again, I remember I was probably, when early on before he really blew up, talking about the combative women, and when Shahrazad Ali came to the school and the Deltas were going off on him, I said I was probably one of them. I was probably one of them.
Yeah.
Talk about the hell you say I would submit, because we had this wrong idea that we were basically being slaves. And it's stupid. I can see it now. But, and here's the thing, I wouldn't have even considered myself a feminist. How about that?
Yeah. I mean, most women don't today. And if you ask them 9 out of 10 things, they agree lockstep with feminism, but they'll say the same thing. BGS says it's because we're socializing, and he says most men are feminists. Most. And it's because we're socializing that in the pressure school system. When you look at what we're taught across, when you look at the core things that every state teaches, because certain things different states teach differently, it's all the
Mhm.
same. So it makes absolute sense. So our like default programming is a certain way, and then we base it, off of that. But yeah, it's really hard. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to, because there's a couple of different ways I can go with this. I mean, honestly, when you really
Hey.
dig deep and look at where it comes from, like one of the
Mhm.
things I used to say a lot, is nobody's taking more from the black woman than the white woman, and nobody kisses the ass of the white woman more than the black woman. And
Ooh, that's good.
feminism, yeah, this is something I haven't said in a while, but that's a Edward Andersonism. And basically, you see white women, it'll be card carrying feminists. Yet Hillary Clinton's a perfect example. But Hillary Clinton is still married to Bill, and we all know what Bill Clinton's history is as far as, cheating and all of that. And and it's kind of like, okay, these women are telling you to accept things that they're accepting it. They're saying you should blow up your families for stuff that is just part of business for them, as long as the dude is performing. And so, and I've just never seen really, the only time I've seen black women really buck against that is really intersectionality, which they've created their own brand of that. But I've never seen them really go up against white women in that way. I don't, and same thing with the elder women. I don't see people call them out. Like, it's everything defaults to it's the black man's fault. And I'm like, look, black men are not perfect, but everything ain't our fault.
Listen, check this out though. Check this out. I did an interview with my mom back in July, and I hate that it's crap because that was one of my first videos.
Hmm.
Because my mom is she's 72, and she even said that black women, that feminism was never intended for black women, but we bought into it. And she's talking about her generation. She's a boomer, but she said because the truth of the matter is, we always worked, meaning black women always worked
Yeah.
outside the home because a lot of times they wouldn't employ our men. And
Yeah.
so, but again, a lot of times, and my mother talked about something the other day we were talking about as it relates to colorism, but that's a whole nother thing. You are going through the motions, living your life, and don't realize at the time you're playing yourself because you're buying into the bullcrap. And so my mom said we were duped and we bought into that crap. She said it was never intended for us anyway. And I think one of the things you talk about to the elder women, a lot of it, and not completely, but a lot of my mother's, grow you real moment is that my mom went back to school, to college at the age of 67. So
Oh,
some of the
wow.
things she's learning in school, she actually experienced in real time. But a lot of times when you're living, you're concentrating on living as opposed to seeing what's going on around you.
Yeah,
And so,
they
yeah.
get you in the long run. That's the, like,
Hmm.
there's the sprint and there's the marathon. When you look at women, they operate more in a sprint, which means, the 10 years where they have their maximum beauty and all of that. And then dudes operate in a marathon. And it meaning we can generally get stronger or more economic and stuff. We have a wall too. But it takes longer for it. Like, a dude isn't hitting his peak until like 35. And
True.
Kevin Samuels has said that versus woman is going to hit her peak as far as value what a man wants in their 20s. And the thing about it is, even Obsidian used to show, it was these Ebony magazine people that he used to talk about a lot, and these were dating matchmakers, black women.
Hmm.
And they would even say like the perfect gap is really a 10-year split where the dude's 10 year older than the woman. So generally a dude's, this is way before Kevin Samuels came to the scene.
Right.
And then he would quote this magazine. He actually ended up meeting them directly, and they thanked him for him promoting, their stuff and said it was represented well. But I've seen other matchmakers say that as well, even white. It's that 10-year gap. But the thing is, that stuff is purposely kept from black people, as well as black people purposely keep it from each other. Like, and that happens on both sides. There's a lot of things that black men don't communicate to the younger generations of black men, which is one reason why there's so much animosity towards the higher generations. Now, granted, I'm not really on that F old dudes, because personally, I've been helped by a lot of older black men, some Xers, some boomers. So I guess I don't give off that F a old nigga vibe because I've never had that problem. But and so some of it is I think you attract that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had my run-ins with certain people that I've given
Right.
the old nigga card because I don't it I don't I don't disrespect. I ain't gonna say disrespect, but I'll respect you till you give me a reason not to. But at the same
Right.
time, you're not gonna pull the because I'm older than you. I know this. Like 1 + 1 is 3. Just go with it because I'm older than you. No, I never was built that way. Like my mom will even tell you that. You know, I never was built that way. So I've had elders in my family. No, it's this stuff can't make complete nonsense and then think I'm just gonna roll with it. And you're gonna be mad or whatever. But at the end of the day, a lot of why I talk the way I talk and how I talk is to communicate certain things. Number one, there's an urgency to this.
Yes, it
Like,
is.
like, um, you created a great outcome for yourself. But in the law of averages, everybody's not necessarily going to do that. And there's
Right.
probably certain things you did that other people are not even willing to do. Even like that moment where you took the opportunity because you saw an opportunity, because you saw him click the save. And then you could have been, oh, well, if that's all he going to do, whatever they say. Right. And you said, okay, let me see what happens. Not, no, you didn't have like a complete outcome of what it is. It was just, let me take the next step. And
The
then
chance. Yes.
exactly. And you have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of folks that they think they're too good and then they want to wait till they get older. I mean, let's talk about even celebrities that they have access to a whole bunch of different men, but they want to wait till they get older to do stuff. And you're not going to have necessarily the same stuff, the options as far as what you're saying you want. This is us trying to meet you with what you're talking about, you know, and you're not going to get all of these things. You're going to have to give up something. Like, for instance, with you, companionship of, a kind, the typical stuff that they say they want. You ask a chick, what does she want in a woman? They want to give the Christian, basically list. And I'm like, if I look at your history, that's not who you having sex with. You know, I mean,
Okay.
for real. And they say the same thing over and over. I need him to be kind, God fearing. This is this. I'm like, okay. And we all know that. This is if we don't know that, because I'm like, that's not reflective. And I'm not even beating it up. It's just, come on. I mean, we know that's not true. And that's where we gotta start lying because we gotta start playing like, yeah. So
Say we that. Okay, listen, real quick on this comment. Says, thank you for the super chat. She says she went to school with KS. Did you ever see KS do this karate? He always taught. No, I haven't, but that doesn't mean he didn't do it. Okay, so let's be clear. Went to high school together, but I'm going to ask you this: how many of y'all was checking for somebody that was now? Me and y'all might have been checking for females that was 2 years younger than y'all. But women in high school, we weren't checking for guys that was 2 years younger than us. Now, when we got to the University of Oklahoma, that was a whole different thing. I didn't see him doing no karate on the yard. What I did see him is when he was pledging, and after he pledged, because we all pledge our sororities, our fraternities and sororities around the same time. So that's what I can, attest to. But I will say in some of our Black Student Association meetings, when we were talking about this relationship stuff, he was saying the same things that he was saying now, and we were like, "The hell, what you talking about? You don't know what the hell you're talking about? Go play with your cane." So,
and to be fair, Iyanla Vanzant was on team WTF, and then they pretty
right,
much she got tired of it when it came to her channel. So she
right,
spoke about that in regard to Shahrzad Ali too.
right, and she apologized too that she got it wrong. And here, and to that point, you talk about that people, particularly let's talk about women, are waiting till they get to a certain age. They don't know. And the reason why I say they don't know, because I didn't. What I mean by that, I remember because my mother is only 17 years older than me.
Okay.
My mother and my grandfather also told us, particularly me, because I was the first in my family to go to college. TJ, don't worry about these boys. These boys are gonna always be there. Go to school and get your degree. Don't focus on these boys. My mom said, go, because she had me young as a single mom. She had me at 17. Don't think about these boys. And again, I was fine. I'm okay now, but I'm just gonna keep it 1,000. Your girl was fine. Okay. So I figured I was always gonna be fine. So because I was always fine and I could always pull, I didn't think it would be a problem. It never dawned on me as I'm getting older So are the young girls that are coming behind me competing for the same dudes I'm competing for. Check this out. It wasn't, and because I was a single mother, a lot of times I didn't pay much attention to it because I was raising my daughter and the focus was on her. But it really resonated with me as she was getting ready to graduate from high school. And I'm looking around, I ain't got no damn prospects.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? And not only that, after I turned 40, because again, up until the time I turned 40, I was on active duty military. So, we got to do a physical fitness test every 6 months. You got to keep it together. Because again, that was my bread and butter to take care of my child. So I was going to keep it tight and right. Well, after I got out, my metabolism changed, my frequency of physical fitness changed, and then I had my first knee surgery. Before I knew it, I wasn't snatched like I was, and then I'm looking around some more. I ain't got no damn prospects. So a lot of times, and it never occurred to me, and that's another reason I'm in these YouTube streets. Don't play yourself. Now, I'm not saying just to settle for anything or accept anything. But what my mom has even admitted, had she known then what she knew now, she would have told me to pay as much, focus just as much as finding a husband or making myself available to a husband as I was pursuing my degree. But I didn't know. So, I'm able to share those things now. But again, you're living, and a lot of times you're living and you're giving advice based on your experiences, because again, my mother was only 17 years older than me, so she too probably thought that she had time to get the man that she wanted.
I mean, all I can really, what I can say to that is, in my family, my family can have a couple of matriarchs, but they have enough dudes that can override that if necessary, or box
Mm-hmm.
that out. And there's an example of my mother with my younger brother, and we all got different dads. So I'm not here to really tell nobody from a moral standpoint of what it is. But she wanted to grow his hair out. And she put all this crap in it that built up. I don't know nothing about that. I don't care. That's not me. That's not how she was doing it with me. But he went along with it because he didn't know no better. And then her cousin, so my second cousin, saw that crap and just said, "Nah, we about to fix this." And basically tried to cut his hair. It didn't work because there was so much grease in his hair. So he had to wash it out, then cut it. He did this all when she was gone. And basically cut his hair and give him a haircut. And to this day, he wears the same hair the same way. And my mom, she cussed him out really good, almost put hands on him. And you can't do that in my child. But like 10, 15 years later, she said straight up, that was probably one of the best decisions. I'm glad he did that. And I said, so are you going to tell Chris? Or she said no. So she never, to this day, she hasn't told him that. But she knew that was the right move. And he literally filled the sink with like black, and I'm not just talking about water. I'm talking about that stuff looked like sewage. And it is what it is. So technically you're supposed to have people in your family that give different perspectives on stuff like that. They're at least their peers at their level. So I'm not, you can call it check, you can call it whatever, but that's that village people are already talking about. The problem is people don't want the village because you might have to be accountable to the village. You want all this is why I call it privatized welfare. You want all the energy of what your male peers in your family could bring, the basically the untangible resources, the human resources that come with that. You in the military, you know how that stuff can compound in a unit, versus more than I do, versus when it comes to being accountable to that, oh, that's a problem. So what happens is people have this mode of replicating not having to be accountable. And so women have this like fear of accountability that's quite frankly irrational. Because the thing is, black men, we can't play that game. Because if we play that game, we're going to jail. We're going somewhere that we don't want to be if we play that game. So to a certain extent, life is going to hold us accountable. Women, they get a different trick. They're held accountable later on in life when they can't lean on their looks and stuff. And then in many ways, that's worse because when it's kind of like if you touch electricity, you feel that immediately. So your brain is gonna tell you, okay, don't do that again. Women don't get that. It's like what is it in the cartoon? Women can walk off a cliff in the air, and then it's you like a mile down there before you realize you in midair, and then you fall. That's the trick.
It's sad but true. It's sad but true. And again, that is why I think it's really important, if we can, to start having these conversations. And I'm so glad that, as a matter of fact, this past Saturday was me, my mom, and my daughter on this on the live, talking about different things as it relates to colorism, but it went to down a different road. But again, I'm so glad that my daughter didn't do the same things I did, because had she done the same things I did, she wouldn't be married. She wouldn't have been married by 25. Her and her husband just had their first child. So I think it's and here's the thing, ladies, being held accountable, and it's almost like the word submission, is not a weakness.
I would say that's your best calling card. Like the fact that your daughter didn't, was able to create that outcome. That's probably the best reason why these females need to listen to you.
And check this out, Edward. I asked my daughter, and again, this was live, so it wasn't rehearsed, because again, before I started having her on, she said, "Mom, I can only tell the truth." I said, "That's what I want you to do. Because I'm not going to come before you acting like I was a perfect mother or that I did everything right, because I didn't." I asked her, what did she see in me when she saw me dating? Okay, the messages I was sending her, and what she told me, my mouth was agape. She said, "Well, you showed me how you dominated."
Oh wow!
How I dominated
that all the words you could use, and you put those together. That's interesting. That's what she said. Like that would be interesting with me.
It was interesting, but again, that's why I wanted her to do that, because again, in my mind, and it kind of goes to what my husband said, I was putting forth the things because, again, as a military officer, I had to be assertive. I had basically, more assertive. It's more masculine. And if you're going to get men as well as women to do what you say, you got to be pretty assertive. But here's the thing. I didn't know how to turn it off. So when I went home, and because I was a single mom, for the most part, I was still running things at home, didn't have a man to balance it. And then when I had a man to balance it, I did not rest, if you will, in my femininity. I did not know how to turn it off. So a lot of times, so we're talking about years and years and years, and I didn't understand, how come I can't get the outcome I wanted? Well, it wasn't until later in my 40s, late 40s, that I realized, okay, nobody, I'm trying to be a mother to a man, and no man wants that. Yeah. And here's the thing, no man wants that. And then the man that would stick around for a while, it would be fine. And then I would lose respect for him.
Yeah. And a lot of these realizations don't happen. So when people are sitting there, everything becomes, it's a man's fault. And then even dudes start internalizing that. Talk about, you got to be perfect. You got to have game. You got to do this. Because the truth is, when it comes to the word submission, most black men are not looking for submission. And they don't know what to do with it if they got it. What black men are looking for is cooperation. That's what we're looking for. This is why you don't see a lot of black men dating Asians, because you almost have to turn that dial on them up, because they're sitting there. I'm talking about, I know all of them aren't like that, but I've dated a Filipino or two. I've been in the Philippines and stuff. And so when they sitting there looking at you like before everything, they're like, look, man, I know you know how to speak English and talk, whether you're in the United States. So we almost turn that up a little bit in them. And that's even a little bit true with Latinas as well, because that complete, like, you don't move unless I tell you to move, that's something that doesn't really work with us. So I always say, if you're going to use a term, it's no point even saying submission. This is why I talked about, I'm not going to move on certain things. If I know I'm not asking for submission, I'm asking for cooperation. That's just between two adults. So cooperation means, like, if you got a question, like, for example, if you got something to say and you want to question me, then there's a place and a time where you can do that. And it ain't that far away, i.e. the car, i.e. the house. But this, you think you're gonna pull audibles? You're not Gary Payton, or you're not Gary Payton. You're not point guarding this. You're a shooting guard, and the shooting guard. And I pass you the ball, you shoot it. If I pass you the ball, but the point is, I have no problem with being questioned. But it's like it's this, and that's another thing too. It doesn't help you in the long run doing that. It really doesn't. As far as the resting in the femininity, I used to have a joke when women say that, like, well, then go to sleep and then do the B word, if you need the rest. But the part is too, is that's what people were socialized with, and those curses have to be broken. And the thing, and the problem, the reality is, the way I am is because too many dudes want to negotiate, and that turns into negotiating your surrender. That's what it is. Too many black men just want, a lot of brothers want women to save face. Which, what that means is, they want women to, I'll capitulate, but can you make me at least not look as bad for doing it? And see, the women of your age used to be smart enough to understand that. Like, and when I say of your age, what I mean is that got lost in the younger women. For instance, let's take the stepdaddy thing. Coming out of the 80s, finding a stepfather that had a job and stuff like that was not as hard as it is today, because it was certain rules that were understood. If you knew the child's father still, and that relationship was there, he was called dad. Because I grew up in this area, I saw a lot of people, so I know he was called dad. You as a stepdad was called your first name. It was understood. Those two dudes knew each other. There wasn't an issue. There was probably agreed upon things as far as what they both bought into. Like, he would reinforce your authority in your house. Don't beat on my kids. But if you tell me what my kids did, I'll beat their ass. And I will do it. And it was demonstrated it would happen. The woman would say, you better hope he beats you. Because if I have to beat you, it's going to be a problem. Because I'm going to make you wish he talked to you. To reinforce that, because they understood that, that you're not my daddy and stuff could come in. It was agreed upon terms. So dudes had no problem buying into that. Women had dudes on cruise control with that. And a lot of dudes, because people would say, oh, well, you're just making it like there's no benefit. What the dudes would do is, some dudes could bargain basement shop. What does that mean? Let's say there were guys that may be intimidated by you. You say you're really attractive, and I definitely could see it. They were intimidated by you at your age. Not your age, but you having a kid, they might be like, oh, well, she has a kid, so she might not need everything. You know what I'm saying? She might have value in me as a producer, or somebody that has a job, stable and stuff like that, because her mind might be right, because having kids change people. And I call it bargain basement shopping. So a dude may not, so if a chick is an 8 or a 7, BGS calls them upgradable 7s, which means they can look like 8s. He may not believe he can get that childless, but he may think he has a shot with a child. So that was like and I've seen dudes do this. I've seen dudes with businesses, with women I dated, their moms. I know this dude wouldn't have thought he could get this person childless. And it wasn't that big of a gap like that, but it was a gap. And so what it is that was one of the things the dudes used to get out of it. Well, see, somewhere along the line, women just thought stepfathers was like magic. And I even said, why don't women do a stepfather day? Like a social media thing where they just make it up. Like, just like how in the military, you know what we do? We say, we thank you for your service and do all these things, to have parking spaces, little gestures that at least make you feel good about what you did in recruiting people in the military. Now, obviously, that has to have tangible benefits, right? And some people could be more genuine about them caring about service than others. And we know a lot of folks fall through the cracks. There's a lot of former servicemen, black men and women, that are like homeless and stuff like that. So we don't do enough. So I get that. But even the gestures there, you don't see that at all with the stepfather thing. It's like, why would you make fun of somebody? You would think women would want to shut dude, like the Russell Wilson effect. That didn't happen really until Russell Wilson. How women would be like, y'all need to stop calling him a lame because he stepped up, he did this, he did that, and really would fight for that relationship because they see a lot of themselves in Sierra, picked the wrong dude, found a good dude. See, that's new. So on social, so even when you look at what women want as far as options and outcomes, you don't see them take those steps forward to make that happen. It becomes men have to increasingly do more and more and more, and women wait till they get to a certain age And let's just keep it real. It's not even talking about looks. Once you get past having a kid age, what is the point on a lot of dudes doing stuff? Once you get 40, you having kids becomes dangerous. So really, why would a dude marry you? Now, granted, I know dudes get married for companionship, but is that the majority?
No. And here's the thing, you say something that's really interesting because I have a stepfather. And it's so funny because I was his child before him and my mother had my sister.
Okay.
So when he met my mom, I was like 6, 7 weeks old. So I've always called him dad. And it's so funny because on Father's Day, it was, but again, he was my father, just like my
Yeah.
father. But again, when it came time, just like, he would discipline me just like my mom, just like my father, just like my grandma. It was none of this, you can't touch my kid because I was his daughter. It
Yeah.
is amazing how it's definitely divided now because again, if I was a man, I wouldn't be, because I've seen several women on these shows, no, you can't discipline my child. Okay, well, I'm not necessarily talking about, whipping somebody if that's not your thing, but you mean to tell me that he can't discipline your child? He can't put him on timeout? He can't. So again, I just don't understand that way of thinking because that's not how I grew up. And I grew up with a stepfather.
They don't either. The truth is, what they need is a grandmother to say, "Little girl, shut the fuck up." That's what we used to have, and that's actually I said this. This is gonna sound real controversial, but I've said this before because my thing is a gynocracy. There's a difference between a gynocracy and a matriarchy, and I've actually said that at one point there was a path that a matriarchy could work. A matriarchy is not the same as a gynocracy. I always say the black community culturally is a gynocracy powered by white supremacy, which means and it's not necessarily black women that said it. They didn't set it up. It's kind of like it was set up and then the jobs that were hired were for these positions and people forgot because that comes all the way back in the slave plantation stuff. But a matriarchy, the black church today is more like a matriarchy, which is you still have pastors, bishops, there's still men in these positions, but when you look at the Congress of women that are there, they have their voice as a collective. And one of the things when you look at, first of all, with matriarchies, the womb is under control. The women keep it under control. So when women to all that hot girl summer stuff, the women are shutting that down because they understand the sexual gravity as far as motivating men. So even though the men control a lot of the positions, the women still they have a lot more stronger control over the house than like how white people do it with a woman is at home. They actually have dominion there. So you in the United States, black men could say, okay, if this female is tripping, you can go to grandma and grandma will do the heavy handed stuff. And they did that at a young age. Little girl, you fast, slapping the S out of them. Because if a woman does it, I'm not saying a man should ever be able to do it, but we all know woman hitting a woman is not seen as it's not seen the same. It never has been, and it's never going to be. So women could be, and not only physically. Let's take the physical off of it. Verbally, they could be extremely heavy-handed. Really strip you naked verbally and tell you about yourself. And you had to eat that. This is part of why a lot of women don't like the church. They always talk about it wasn't the pastor that really checked single mothers. It was the talking of the women around you that were your peers that never stopped. And this is actually how Asians control each other. This is how Latins do it. If you ask an Asian or like a Korean, for example, I Ubered this chick and she said something. And then I said, so why have you told? She said, my dad, I'm not so much worried about. He'll be disappointed, but he'll get over it. It's my aunts and stuff. It was something about her getting tickets. It's my aunts and stuff that they just never will stop. It's this collective of female coven of shame. Women are the ones that administered shame. And it was effective because you couldn't say, oh, he's a guy. He doesn't understand. You had to eat it. Anyway, go ahead. Oh yeah, by the way, that's the first thing they started to get rid of with feminism. Like the Judge Hatchets, the Shahrazad Ali's. Yeah, they replaced those women with what I call the Tokyo Tony grandmothers, which is why you get so much pushback, by the way, because you remind them of that kind of old guard. Even though you were a certain way when you were younger, the fact that you're having a different conversation, it reminds them of something very ancient that they don't know what it is. They just know they don't like it.
Well, they can be growed real because here's the thing. I'm not kind of like you. I'm not out here to make money. If I do, that's cute and I appreciate you, but that's not why I'm here. I'm trying to grow y'all to get your mind right, so you don't, one, keep having children out of wedlock. Two, keep choosing the wrong dude or allowing them to choose you. And why can I say that? Because I did that. Also, get your mind right, and and really start doing a self-evaluation. Check this out. You talk about the mothers in the church. Well, I'm a product of that. What I mean by that is my mom, when she got pregnant with me, she everything that she was in the church, she had to come out of, because they did not want somebody unwed and pregnant standing in front of the church. So she had to come out of the choir. She had to come out of the anything that she was in. She had to come out of.
Yeah, and the women backed that play. That's why you don't see it anymore. Because as the women changed, the pastors changed. And a lot of that can be done with the prosperity gospel. And let's be clear here, pastors are supposed to be leaders. So this is no way to excuse what they did. Like I said, they started pushing the prosperity gospel and it became this exchange of money for this. And there's solutions for that too. And there are small churches that are great. I can name a couple of pastors that are absolutely great. Pastor Kevin Cosby of Louisville, Kentucky is a perfect example. Literally bought a failing HBCU with the church and using human resources to get it back accredited, Simmons College. So there's examples of incredible things pastors have done. But I'm telling you, it's the dynamic. You see the same thing in the Democratic Party. What do you see? A bunch of, even with the male politicians, even though you're starting to see it be more female as far as black females take over, really those male politicians were figureheads. They didn't do anything the women just completely went against. And see, that's another thing too. We have this narrative that the black community is a patriarchy. It's not. And it never has been.
You
So
don't think so?
no, like the closest thing the black community had to be in a patriarchy is Jim Crow. And that was by survival, meaning there was sharks circling around. Meaning black boys would be dead, black men to be dead, black women's survival was definitely not guaranteed, because you all may not be dead, but who knows what sexual assault and stuff could happen and you just be thrown back. So that was when women had to do it. That unraveled in civil rights, but for a couple of reasons. Number one, because white women basically stole the affirmative action that black men, and by default, black women would get, because black men die first. So a lot of that's another thing people forget about. Men die first. So that's one of the natural things that kind of keeps things from spinning off too much. Women are the ones that generally control the inheritancy. People forget that. The wives that are surviving. But anyway, but the point is, once a choice was presented as far as integration, women ran with it. And a lot of that stuff was there before, but when white women presented that BS about, we're going to overturn men, they ran with it. And then white women somehow became a minority. White women should never have been a minority.
You
They
talked
are
about
white.
that in your podcast. I think it was yesterday. Absolutely. And you talked about, I think it was the guy from Virginia who said
Yeah, I
about
say a lot
affirmative
of
action.
stuff.
About affirmative action, it was never intended. Was
Oh
it
yeah,
Webb?
Jim. Jim. He's a military guy.
Yeah.
Jim Webb. He was a senator in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
You had more famous when it was there, because one dude he keeps on winning, and then it was I forget his name, but then you had him, and he said that, and he's an Appalachian guy, so he was kind of saying he really wasn't supposed to say that. This is one of those things behind the scenes when he's really talking to your people. He said, "Look, I get y'all don't like that, but if we gave it to the people that we said we're going to give it to, it wouldn't be enough numbers to keep your kids out of school anyway, because it wouldn't be enough, because it'd be just going to African Americans, and it's not enough to create the numbers to any white person would feel like their kid can't go to a school. We're not even going to talk about if you actually fund the HBCUs right, they wouldn't care as much about going to the better schools, which is a way of actually solving the problem in both ways. So that's what he brought up, because he had to try to do something to get penetration. And you notice how nobody really talked to him after that. But that's what it was. Other minorities weren't supposed, and white women were, but they always try to run white women to move it. Anyway, my point is this. My point is, men are a woman's insurance policy as a group. All women understand this. Now, granted, white women are always having power dynamics. Latin women, there's power dynamic. Even when Latin women are dating black men, that's kind of a power dynamic against the machoism of Latin men. And a lot of black men don't necessarily pick up on it. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but there's levels to it. But at the end of the day, they understand that's their insurance policy. It's only with black women where they really believe that they can be. Shay Howard put a post where it was literally a black female 2 years ago. This post is that she said that the reason why black women go through what they go through is because they're tied to black men. And if black women can untether themselves from black men, all of a sudden they're level. And there's a lot of black women. This was 2 years ago. So this is pre-Kevin Samuels blowing up. You have no idea some of the stuff we've gotten a lot of. It's not even the women individually saying it. When they do a post, like say a woman does a crazy thing on TikTok, and you see 30,000 posts, that sends a message. And to be fair, there was a Shade Room post of a music video of Megan Thee Stallion and his Jamaican like artist, and it was pretty much pornographic the way they were doing it. And to be fair, it was a lot of women that were very turned off on that, and that's a younger demographic. And they said, "Where's the song in this?" And it was woman after woman saying, "It's a little bit too much. It's getting there." You could tell they didn't like it, and it was too much. So I see it when it happens on both sides. I'm not just looking for the gotcha moment. And social media to me is the greatest social experiment. Like if you want to do a social case study on something, put a post there and see what. If 10,000 people are going to respond, see who's responding, see why. I'm going to say this and I'll let you talk. There's a guy that's in my chat. His name is Smargo. He kind of can say some really flagrant stuff sometimes. And he said something about, if I'm going to date a single mother, she's got to be willing to give up the kid. Meaning she's got to give it up to the father. But still, there was women that got mad, but oh man, this thing had like 8,000 shares on Facebook. And then you had dudes that were commenting. And some of the stuff the dudes were saying was very interesting. They said, "I wouldn't even respect a woman that would do that. How dare you? What's your address?" Like, I'm looking at the dude. The dudes were, ironically, the dudes were angrier than the women. The women was just on some, like, it almost didn't even register them. So to them, it was like, okay, this is just a dude being goofy. Cynthia G ended up doing a video about it. And this dude is in my chat. And no, I've never said nothing like that, by the way. But
I think I've seen him in your chat before. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the dudes were actually angrier. Like they were even some of the dudes that I've seen that will, and this was like 8,000 comments. So I'm saying, I did a video saying this is what we're going to do. We just going to read the dudes' comments. I had to go through at least 150. And every last one, it was on like 3 that was on something. I could kind of see why he's saying what he's saying. Because if you're not willing to give your kid up to your dad, to the dad, why have a baby with him in the first place? And the truth is, a lot of women, because in my personal opinion, the woman should get the child in the younger years, but once they start getting like 10, 11, 12, especially if it's a boy, if it's a girl, different story.
I agree with that. with that.
So it, in the way he said it, I mean, and I ain't gonna lie, he was effective on Facebook. But the point is, the dudes even got mad.
Well, here's somebody said my face. Yeah, my face. Like, what? Almost said in what? But but I agree with you as it relates to a son. And I have several friends who had sons, and they either were divorced from the father or they weren't together. And when the son got to a certain age, they sent the son to live with the father. Absolutely. And here's the thing: even me, as a mother of a daughter, when my daughter got to a point that she wanted to live with her dad, I ain't gonna lie, it hurt me. But guess what? I sent her.
Yeah.
Because she's just as much his as mine. It hurt me, but I sent her right on.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing is, even with that conversation, even though that can be flagrant as far as saying that, there's a conversation to be had there. Because, I mean, even with boys, people can argue with girls because men are not going to say they can raise girls. I will say this. There's a certain base level of confidence that women get from their fathers that if they don't get that, that can be problematic. That a lot of women, and I think women underestimate that in trying to write out a lot of the BS women are doing today has to do with them looking for their daddy and a lot of these dudes.
Yes.
Straight up. But
I was one of them.
yeah, so
You know.
so there's that, but also when it comes to boys, I mean, there's got to be men around, and a lot of women are complaining about, oh, well, there's no good men, or these men don't. And look, there's men that say it because there's a channel they'll say, man, these men today don't know how to change a tire. They don't know how to change oil. They don't even know how to change a tire. And my thing is, yes, that's a problem, but these dudes got an origin story. They didn't just get and I'm not making excuses, because at the end of the day, as a dude, you got to get it. But people tend to want to ask women this: do you choose to father your children? How you answer that tells me everything about you. I've literally asked this on a date, and I'll mix it in general conversation, lighthearted. Like, what do you think? And I may say it in a story. And I have like a story where I've asked somebody else this, and what I find is a lot of women, it's one of those beautiful questions, because they know what the answer is. They know, they really are not quite sure what the right answer is, so they got to tell me what they really think, but they don't know what the answer is. So a lot of times the length you take to answer the question actually tells me a lot. And I'll tell you, if I've asked non-ADOS women this, or I've asked non-black women this, they generally can come up with an answer pretty quickly. Like, yeah, you do. Versus, so it's a way for me to test for feminism. Even if a chick tells me, I promise you, I could ask Kay this. She says she's not a feminist, because I'm in the Lapeef group, and I'm not gonna beat her up. I'm just saying I can ask this question. And I bet you I'll get a favorable response as far as what I'm looking for to prove she's a feminist or not. Because feminist programming has taught women they're not really responsible for the outcome of their kids at all. That's all what the dude didn't do. But even though they've been more empowered when it comes to sexual selection, women control sexual selection. They do.
I'll tell you, I'm gonna read a couple of comments, but I chose my daughter's father, and I chose him for all the wrong reasons. I'm just be 1,000 wild with you. Okay. So to the point here, it's a lot of women that choose men that drug dealer men that had addiction in the 90s was something else. I was there. Yeah, this is true. When mothers chose them. Absolutely. We did. And even though my daughter's father was not a drug dealer or a gang banger, or, had I been more responsible, and I probably wouldn't have chosen.
I mean, here's the reality of the situation. Your outcomes are your own outcomes. Yes. So the thing you have to look at, people got to be real, is, are they happy where they are today? So this is not me just being nice. At the end of the day, your daughter is married. You have somebody. So at least from your own out. So is nobody, black men, what we're looking is candor. We're not really looking for people to be on this, I'm sorry. Because truth be told, that doesn't mean that people won't still do it when the opportunity arises anyway. Well, we're looking, and that's the one thing we're not seeing in these conversations. We're not seeing candidness. And that's when I start to get annoyed and animated, because that's why I start to drill. And I don't have to drill on some few good men stuff. I can ask open-ended questions, and depending on what answer you give me, you can give me whatever answer. I'm gonna go along with that. Because if you say something that's crazy, it's gonna be obvious it's crazy. If I ask you an open-ended question, that's me probing your brain, and you can't say I'm pinning you into a corner, because I'm just going based on what you say. Well, what if she's like, for instance, they got mad at Kevin Samuels for accepting that Nicki Minaj said she was a 7 when she said she's a 9. I'm like, you're not going to pin her down, because she can always end the conversation. She has more of the social hierarchy in that way. And honestly, you don't really get the communication in. But if you sit there and you ask open-ended questions, you get an understanding as to where they're coming from. If they're lying, it's going to be obvious, because they can't stack multiple lies on top of each other. Because most people are not used to having these conversations in real life. True. So, yeah. But I don't know if you want to get to a panel. You want to get to more questions?
I do. Before we do that, though, somebody asked what was wrong with them. Nothing was wrong with him. He wasn't for me. But here's the thing that we messed up, and I've been very candid about the fact that, you know, had I gotten to know him longer and been responsible with taking my birth control pills like I should have been, because again, I got married within 3 to 4 months of knowing him. Let's just be, I mean, I'm honest. You know, I was half-assed taking my birth control pills and got pregnant. You know, do I regret it? No. Because, and to your point earlier, I think about many people, many women that I know, because I was on that trajectory, college, you know, my career, etc. And many of my friends on the same trajectory didn't have children and wanted them, wanted a husband and wanted to be married. Many of them don't have either. So I'm grateful for the fact that even though I didn't plan it, I wasn't responsible. The end result was something that was beneficial and wonderful for me, because my daughter made me grow up, made me get my mind right and be responsible, because I've already said this too. Once I had her, if I didn't take shit else, I took some birth control pills, and guess what? Didn't get pregnant again. And so it works. Again, if you don't want to be pregnant, you won't. So again, it's a grow you real moment. And I shared that because, again, one child, yes, you can say, okay, whatever, but you can't keep doing it. And I said that I was not going to have another child out of wedlock. I said I wasn't, because I knew how difficult it was with the one I had. And I also knew how difficult it was with the interaction her father and I had over the years. It wasn't beneficial to him. It wasn't beneficial to me, and wasn't beneficial to our daughter. I wasn't going to do that again. So that is another reason I'm here. So, you know, you can't keep doing that. Now, before we open up the lines, you know, I got to go there, Edward. What has been happening today in this week in these YouTube streets? TS.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, like, you know, there's a history there. I've been around this space for a while. Tommy's one of the earliest people. People try to say everything comes from him. I understand why people say that, but you had Blog Talk before that. But just to jump, I say that to say this: Tommy is a very, like, Kevin is polarizing, yes, but Kevin is polarizing more for just the impact and kind of how people are like chewing on the information. Because some people don't even like the high value man concept on the male side. Tommy, people don't like Tommy. I mean, people really don't. Tommy has his fans. He has a lot of people that really support him. So you either rock with him or you can't stand him for different reasons. So when you look at the variety of people that's jumping on him, I mean, you got Tariq Nasheed. I mean, Tariq Nasheed made a puppet of him. That's where that crispy stuff comes from. Tasha K interviewed the woman that punched him. And a lot of people are basically talking about, at the end of the day, she assaulted him, and nothing else mattered, but she assaulted him, and she said that she sells her body for money. And that is what she has said over and over and over again. So that's not something disparaging her. She says that. In fact, the main issue she had with Tommy is that Tommy was trying to do what I call barter tricking, which is trying to barter an opportunity rather than cold hard cash. That's kind of why she got mad as far as she left before that she went to the actual show. There's a lot of, so I don't agree with her hitting him, but also she's not there if he doesn't try to get her out there to pay for play. Now apparently Tommy's been known for that, but think about it, Kwame Brown, that didn't have to happen with Tommy and Kwame. Kwame could have been an opportunity for Tommy to really reassert himself in the Kevin Samuels era. Kevin Samuels didn't have to happen with him going back and forth with that. That was really one way, because you know Kevin don't really talk shit about a lot of people like that. And you can go back in the day to Tariq Nasheed, Corey Holcomb. Tommy has had like some of the biggest content creators at him at the same time. There are people that don't like each other, that can't stand him. And this is a pattern over and over and over again. And so the black woman thing, because that's the new thing. Oh man, you can't do this about black women, which it is true. Tommy does not have that same energy for dudes. It's been plenty of situations. Man, there was somebody, I'm not going to mention his name, and I get why. He was literally outside of Tommy's hotel room like literally outside of Tommy's hotel looking for Tommy to come downstairs. And people that know that story know that story. But Tommy, man, people don't like him. And if this chick is what needs to hit him over the head with a hammer, they don't care. They don't care that she's just that.
Well, here's the challenge that I have, and I'm gonna go ahead and drop the link in a minute. And I want to shout out to Courtney Michelle,
and
because
I don't like Tommy either, by the way. But go ahead.
I don't even know anything about him. As a matter of fact, because I'm not in the YouTube streets like that. But again, it was just all over the airwaves. So I happened to, shout out to Courtney Michelle. She told me that she was on Kwame Brown, so I went and looked. And again, we're talking about accountability, right? So what I appreciated about Courtney when she talked to the lady, because again, other than Tasha K, as far as women are concerned, and I guess Jessica X has spoken to her, but Courtney Michelle was the only woman that talked to her and grew her real, held her accountable about her conduct, to the extent, and I kind of did a review over it too, because again, certain things just kind of escaped the young lady. But Courtney held her accountable without calling her all these kinds of names, without calling her all, without doxing her, which some people have done, I've heard, which is disgusting in and of itself. So again, I believe in holding women accountable. Why? Because I hold myself accountable. I do. But as some people have said, men can't not hold women accountable like women can. And when you do that, and she did it, and what I loved about it, I don't know if you all have a chance to look at that. Courtney just kind of spelled it out. You shouldn't have been there. If you knew this is the kind of situation, when you saw he was there, why didn't you leave? If you knew that this is the kind of environment, why didn't you leave? Absolutely, because see, here, I know where you're going, and this is where I'm on.
No, I'm going to agree with you. But
this is where I'm on, because again, my thing is, I want to reclaim the Black female image. What do I mean by that? And I was talking about it on my show. In the past 20 plus years, these young women, particularly this young woman's age, she's 25, they haven't seen style and grace in class. They haven't. Like my generation of women did. They knew what it looked like. They wanted to emulate that. They don't want to emulate that anymore because they haven't seen what it looks like in real time.
No, I agree. I mean, I agree. I mean, I tell people about disease. We don't need the red pill disease. Disease can just observe their female peers' behavior. It's 304 land. And the ones that aren't on that are the exception. Perfect example. You look at Chloe Bailey and Chloe Bailey. She's being groomed to kind of emulate Cardi B, even though she should be looking to be more of a Beyonce level star. She's natural assets, even wears the dreads and all of that, right? Bringing that back. But this is how they're pushing her because that's what's real. Even though she really has no real ability to do it. Less is more. So if you can, be in these guys' imagination because you're wearing a bad dress. I mean, Lori Harvey does the same thing. I mean, you can get actually more out of dudes as far as the what they're going for with that. But they're going to what's easy because that's what's known. And as far as her behavior, I mean, we know. Here's the thing. I say this, and this is why I get on Tommy more on this situation. If women are transparent about who they are, at that point, it's up to you if you want to be around them or not. I said this about Brittany Renner and PJ. I said she wrote a book. What she said was on social media. She's 6 years older than you. What are you doing with a female that's 6 years older than you when you have access to pretty much a lot of different women? You can't say you don't have dudes around you. You got an AAU coach, a high school coach, a college coach. You got your dad. You got women that by the nature of female nature ain't gonna want another woman coming in getting like so they. And so it's the same thing here. At the end of the look, I get this. He punched it, but I'm not going to look, man. If you want to play with the street stuff is going to find you. So I don't want to hear no, oh my God, he's salty. That's hypocrisy. Because I get it. I get that as soon as the dude came over there to kind of tell her to chill. She got bucked because she realized there was a dude in between them. And that's when she felt like she could do a hit. But at the same time, and it is on her that she kept asking the question because she couldn't accept it. And I get it. She felt some type of way because he said he thought he was talking to her. And here's the thing. She's got a point in saying that how are you talking this much shit about black women like her? Because he was talking about her. She fits a lot of the monikers of what he's talking about, but you flying her out though. So, but at the end of the day, women like that, they always in something. And the truth is, there's gonna be a dude that's not like Tommy. And this is why when women are talking about all the violence they go through, I'm like, yo, we know the difference between the women that they always in something and the ones that are, you know, actually somebody that it shouldn't happen to. You know, if you're a chick and it's like you always in a fight, whether it's male or female, that's not by accident.
True. That is why I'm trying to grow, y'all. Listen. Y'all look at your auntie right now and say, oh, she seems very refined and very well spoken. Your auntie came from the jungle of Los Angeles, California. Okay. Homeless with my mom. We moved 6 times in 6 months. Took a bus to Oklahoma City. Struggled. I seen abuse. I got a scar on my arm trying to save my mother from abuse. But guess what? So for all accounts, I should be ratchet like that. I didn't want to be that. Yeah. I didn't want to be that. So ladies, at the sound of my voice, if you want something different, and again, it's not, hey, I even talked about this. If you want to sell your body, that's your thing. I don't advocate for that. I don't advocate for it. But even call girls have a certain amount of class and style and grace. I'm just saying. I'm not advocating for that. Because they sell the box too. But you wouldn't look at it and say, wonder what they carrying. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that you can go both ways. Like I'm talking about like with that situation, you could break that situation down so many different levels. It's a lot to chew on there. And then there's the kind of politics of it. Like I said, Tommy has pissed a lot of people off. I was actually born in Dominguez Hospital in Compton, California, actually. But I left when I was 4, so I don't really say I'm from LA, and my whole family's from Chicago. But yeah, so
my baby was born in Daniel Freeman Hospital in Inglewood, California. What?
Yeah, so, but yeah, man, but yeah, like women, and it's like the thing is, it's very transparent. Like a woman like that, I'm not gonna be around unless I'm in a club or something like that. I'm getting older, so it's more lounges. I'm not gonna be around people like that. And as much people think I talk shit about black women, the reality is, I always tell people there's about 20% of black women that, when I say operate within parameters of common sense. Now, within the 80%, that does not mean all 80% are bad, but like that, like 21 to like 39. They're good, but if you get them around the crazy ones, sometimes they lean towards the crazy ones. You know what I'm saying? But if they're on their own, they're you get what I'm saying. But my point is that I'm around the black women that have common sense. I date more assertive black women, but there's a difference between being assertive and being dominating. There's a fine line with that. And I've been told, oh, you know, I don't think you date black women. What? Because you don't like women in my job say that. And I said, no, I'm not taking your bullshit, but I don't. How I am in my car ain't really how I am all the time. I know how to get, like even here, I know how to get what I need to get done in different ways. So my uploads don't necessarily sound the same. When I'm on my panels, it don't sound the same. But people think I'm afraid to show my face. I'm not. It's just convenient for me to just fire this thing up, you know, whatever. But anyway. But yeah, as far as that Tommy situation, you could split that out, and I need to do uploads on that. But there's a lot of points that can be made with that. I mean, don't even get me started. I've seen the real video where, have you seen the real video of what happened, or did you see the edited?
I saw the edited version.
So she has a cotton kind of, you know, dress on, and you know, if you do a lot of I'm not gonna go all the way there, but if you do a lot of movement,
I did see that. Yes.
Yeah. So. It's and I always, and that dude, I felt bad for that dude. The dude was holding her back, because when you're in a situation where the adrenaline is picked up and she's a little bit stronger than what you're used to, and as a dude, you don't want to really pin her against the wall because that's a bad look. So you're trying to get the right vibe, and that's why he was rocking back and forth, because it's like you're trying to get the right inner like force. That was funny to me. But hey, Tommy's been in situations like that. Like there's literally a compilation of situations like that Tommy's been in.
But check this out though. To Courtney's point, and again, the young lady did an interview with Tasha K. So again, I'm team lady. Again, y'all say TJ, you old. You know, nobody wouldn't want you anyway. Okay, whatever. But again, I'm trying to grow y'all because eventually y'all not gonna be young either. And you're gonna want somebody to want you and take you seriously. So my point being, the young lady, when she was interviewed by Tasha K, she looked like a lady.
Oh, they know how to do it when they need to. And that's one reason why when women play this, I didn't know. I don't want to hear that. Because I know a lot, like, I don't think black women, a lot of dudes, a lot of dudes fall into this thing like black women are children, women are children. Bullshit. They just play like that so you can give them a chance after chance after chance after chance. They feed into your ego with that. No, they're not kids. They know exactly what they're doing. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes there's not context, like what you were saying before. But you got to remember, everybody wasn't in the military, and everybody don't have your background or was in the military in it. That's kind of understandable. And at the end of the day, again, your outcomes right now is proof of kind of what you were talking about. You got women that they will outright tell you, I wanted the baby but didn't want the man. Then try to sell to somebody else. Like here's the crazy thing. This is how you know how off the chain stuff is now. Even when you look at that woman, not that show, the first show, because I covered that Tommy was on, because I never really listened to Tommy like full on, you know. That first show he was on, she was on. They had the interview with just him, then they had all of them. And even she actually got into it, not like she did with Tommy, but she got into it with another woman. Like it was a non-black woman, because they all do the OnlyFans. They all kind of do what she does to varying levels, as far as going all the way with it, not just OnlyFans, but there's certain things you're not supposed to disclose. And she just got a little bit too loose with what she was disclosing. Like for instance, when Tommy said the thing about calling her a porta potty, nobody's picked up on this, but she said she's been to Dubai before. So, I mean, it's not like that's 100% out of left field. You know, you've been to Dubai, people can assume out of everywhere you go, you know what their reputation is. So it was real specific stuff. But to be fair, I actually think Tommy really aggravated that a lot. I mean, again, I know his history. And I know even with dudes, like he's had Tariq show up to him directly in the DJ Vlad's thing. I know his history. He's had people. Tommy pisses people off, and I'm not saying she should have hit him, because if he sues her, that's on her. But Tommy doesn't have any goodwill here, and a lot of dudes that support him. I get it, but I only feel so bad for him. That's what I'm saying. Well, this is the right thing. Whatever.
Okay, so even given up, she's been dragged. So my question to you in the chat. Okay. Do you agree with someone doxing her? Meaning putting her information, because somebody asked what does doxing mean. I'm just gonna say I had to look it up in the dictionary. I had to look it up myself. But basically put her real name, her, whatever, her address, whatever, all this kinds of stuff. Do you agree with that? Because again, I'm like, she was wrong.
No.
She was wrong. She shouldn't have, because she was clearly the aggressor. All that, be that as it may, there are individuals, predominantly men, that have put her stuff out for public consumption. Her full name, her address, the addresses where she lives. I'm like, are you serious right now? They've done that.
Yeah, I mean, you got crazy people on the internet, and know whether it's him or Tommy, absolutely. And even there is no reason why you should dox somebody. Let me be very clear about that. But in the grand scheme of things, what she did, here's the thing: she was talking to him in a nice way. She kept asking the same question over and over, which I would have got annoyed. I wouldn't handle it that way though. And Tommy was the first person to really raise the temperature. And yeah, Tommy was throwing some shots before, and as soon as dude came up, she got up for the second time, and then she did what she did. I mean, that could be a fight in the club. Is that so? Would you really warrant no? You should. And by the way, my apology. And people have tried to dox me and actually gone and gotten family members. That's not that far back. Yeah.
Wow.
Because when you do that, you don't know what information you're reading, and stuff like that. So no, you should never do that. And honestly, that should be illegal. Honestly, I wish you could get somebody's IP address and they be sued personally.
Welcome to the stream, Courtney Michelle.
Hey, Edward, I'm driving around like you.
Yeah, you look better. You look better than I usually look. My stuff is raggedy as crap.
Now you be on the side like this. You be like, what?
I do that on. I'm gonna tell you that there's a reason why I actually do that, because there's certain YouTubers that a lot of us are closer to each other than you would think. And there's a couple that know, and there's certain people that when they stream, I know exactly where their location is, because just based on like stuff that I'm seeing, I know exactly where they are. You're not gonna know where I am, so I'm saying it'll look raggedy pointed to the phone. That's why, but also, yeah. So there's a reason why I do a lot of stuff. But yeah, I need to stop struggle streaming. It's
okay. This lady Jackie Jack says she did that for the purpose of sympathy, and that's true. And if she has an attorney, maybe her attorney advised her. But maybe again, I'm just old school. Again, I believe in being sexy. I believe in being sensual, because again, the whole idea of sexuality and sensuality did not come up. Y'all didn't invent it. But again, less is more, and it wasn't for everybody to see. I'm just saying. What you got, Courtney?
Yeah. Well, I won't be long since I'm driving, but I wanted to come up to first day. I think this is an amazing stream, and I was already excited about it. And I'm just loving what I hear. And Edward, I want to tell you that I listen to you a lot. I don't be in your chat because I don't want people to be calling me a strag. But I listen to you a lot because I think that you're very balanced and you do go off, but I think it's necessary. And I know you probably don't know that. So I wanted to let you know that I am a fan of your content. So I wanted to tell you that. And I also had a question. And then I'll let you discuss it, but I'm probably going to log off. A question that I had, which, like I said, I think I told JC that I listen to a lot of people, from you to Ramil to Angry Man, to everyone. And I have noticed that there's been kind of a divide within, not only within the sphere, but also with women as well in the sphere. So with this, is this usually what's been going on since you've been here? So, because I know that you're an OG. And if so, what do you think the divide is, and how can that divide maybe subside?
With the men, yes, it's normal. With the women, no, that's new. Okay. The women are usually more united, for a variety of reasons. Number one, they can generate more social media traffic, more money. It's the relationship between a lot of female content creators, and if you're going to receive that differently than what I'm saying it, because when I say female content creators, I'm talking about pre-Kevin Samuels. So technically, for instance, Danica Marie was on Facebook, and then she came to YouTube later on. April Mason was on Facebook, so they're not talking about them. With like a lot of your Chrissy's, Paris Milans, Cynthia G's, and all of them are not completely on that level. You had women that they want kind of they want to be heard. That's what they would say, and they wanted their world with their point of view validated. And then you had other folks where they're able to communicate that information because they wanted to be heard and they wanted to get people told and get it out. And then they were able to get money of it, even with Crystal and Karas and stuff like that. So what you're seeing is new, is even women like, and I'm going to just say names. It is what it is. I'm not about to disparage nobody, but Cynthia G is, you have women that are now challenging, trying to be more like Cynthia G than Cynthia G, and challenging Cynthia G's purity. You have women that are challenging Crystal and Karas, even though Karas, I literally have a thing with her speaking at a library at 2012, and this is why Karas recently did a video that Shay actually reviewed, disavowing like herself from this current climate of quote unquote divestment, swirling pro-black, but dudes ain't shit. The dudes are always fighting. We're always fighting. I could go through a history of because it's more of the nature to how our stuff is. You have part of it is that Highlander syndrome. Part of it is we have different factions as far as what we think and points of view. You have dudes that want relationships. You have dudes that want, Ramil represents pump and dump. So you have the MGTOW element. You have the more relationship element. You have the dating coach element, and they always are rotating around each other. Me personally, I've said that there should be a purple pill space that's segmented from the red pill space. That way, all the new channels that want to have these type of conversations, like your Obsidians and stuff, they can be in that and know this is going to kind of how to be where the conversation is going to go. And then you kind of know, okay, these are the red pill channels. This is what they're on. I said that a year and a half ago, they should do that. And because there's going to be these new channels, they're going to get market share and y'all going to be mad. And what happened? Peeve came, and nobody's mad at the little Peeve. Really, everybody's mad at Kevin, because they think Kevin, part of it is he doesn't represent the type of black man a lot of them want represented. You like, for instance, take Kevin, Kwame Brown. It's kind of like the man's man, kind of Southern dude. Then you got like a dude that's more reflective of a street dude. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They want all of them represented, or they don't want him. So it's a lot of stuff with that. Yeah, some content creators have legitimate gripes, so I'm gonna give that. But we've always fought. We always had beef. Like O'Shea has gone back and forth with Obsidian. Obsidian's gone back and forth with Angry Man. I've literally seen Alan Roger Curry and Obsidian have a 40 or 50 email back and forth response where we were all sub to each other behind the scenes. That's always happened. We've always fought. It's not gonna stop. Now, I try to stay out of it. But even with me, people are getting mad at me. Oh, you sharing too many women. Oh, you don't talk enough about self-improvement. Oh, you talk about as a gynocracy. Oh, you're a liar. And it is what it is. So that's normal for us.
Okay. And then one quick question that I am going to do you think the change in maybe some of the talking points, or even bringing or talking to more women, is because it's a movement to go mainstream? And to go mainstream, the talking points have to change to include women?
Most dudes in the space, the early dudes like Sergeant Willie Pete, Mr. Research, Soul and Black, Charles Tyler, they always want to have a conversation with women. The problem is because women are more concentrated on social media than men, especially in this type of niche, the relationship niche. Dudes are going to be more concentrated in sports, in music, stuff like that. The women didn't have to talk to us. So they traditionally didn't. They would while they're building up their channels, but once they got to north of a 50 or 100 get traction, they would just have their own conversation, unless you were going to have a conversation on their terms, which means, Derrick Jackson has, the roommates, that sort of stuff. And a lot of us was like, we're not doing that, including Obsidian. Now,
I'm dipping, but I'm listening. I just want to.
Okay, no, absolutely. Okay. Post Kevin, now they have to answer it. They have to. And here's the thing that they don't like. This is why they don't like you. This is why they don't like Courtney. So I don't like Melanie. This is why I don't like Shay. Because Shay even said this. It's because we knew, because we had women before. There was women like Statuesque. There was women like Olivia Alexa. There was women like Ashley W. And they would get violently attacked verbally. Because the biggest threat to this gynocracy is a choice. You said yourself, TJ, you were talking about being, an image of what you knew, but what these women don't know. If you present a choice and you can present outcomes predicated on that choice, then you have something to compare it to. Men can't do that because at the end of the day, we're men. What do we know? We don't understand their experiences, blah, blah, blah. You can't say that with Shay. You can't say that with Melanie. You really can't say that with Courtney. Can't say that with you. Because you got somebody and then your daughter's married. You can't say that with women. So remember what I told you about that shame? They understand that works. And it's also going to cost them money because it's going to cost them market share. So Kevin has kind of punched that portal that a lot of us laid the foundation for in order for people to come up. Another thing too is women networking with other women, because 2.0 really got born out of women trying to destroy our channels based in what we call an apocalypse. And to be fair, Obsidian kind of started that off because Obsidian used to tear these women down. Obsidian was a little bit more hardcore than what he is now. Like, for instance, more conservative. He used terms like park apes back when the Trayvon Martin stuff. Oh, yeah. And they're there. Obsidian was very hardcore conservative. And he's talking about black men. He's talking about pookies, not black women. So, yeah. And so a lot of these people, the politics. So what happened, you're on mute. I don't know if you know. But a lot of it, So he basically used to go at women very hard. And so what happened, basically to get attention, but they created this list and we all found each other through that list. We didn't know it was as big as it was. And that's how really 2.0 really got started. And so who you see now has been kind of running that ever since. Angry Man, O'Shea, Kevin kind of came later, BGS. And yeah, but the fighting with us, that stuff will pass. A lot of that is dudes don't like how it is with Kevin. As more people grow, that will pass. But that's always going to be there. But oh yeah, the part about mainstream though, and I'll say this, and I'll be quick about it. Yeah, some of that is talking to more women, but that's not specifically for that. We've always wanted to have a conversation with women. That's always it's always been there. It's not to go mainstream. It's because if you're interested in fixing this, you can't fix it without having the conversation because they got to accept what's being talked about. But they would ignore us because they could. Now they can't.
What I find interesting is that, in the past week, particularly since all this stuff has been going on with Tommy Sotomayor and this Shay, is that I find interesting that some women have talked about, I've got to do it because women are not going to hold women accountable. And I think it's interesting because some people, they discount women like Courtney, like Danica, like Shay, like me, but again, are we not holding them accountable because we're not cussing them out and calling them sluts? I'm just asking. You're muted.
There's dudes and so it depends on what level you're talking about. The thing about it is part of that is yes, but that's not as big of a percentage as you would think it is. What black men want more than anything is candidness.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't have to be, you can say what you think, but be honest about it. Don't like withhold information thinking that I'm going to give you an answer based on withheld information. As long as people don't do that, we're good. And that's what got Melanie in trouble. That's one of the critiques I had of Courtney. That's really what on the main source of it is candor. And then that shows up in people calling people chameleons and stuff like that. But the truth is, people are gonna say that no matter what. You just gotta stay like take Love Dorsey for example. She's very big in Instagram, and I've literally had dudes get repulsed by hearing her talk. Now me knowing the dudes will sleep with her, the same dudes. But what I say to that, she's got a dude that's equally yoked. She's having that relationship. What else are you asking? But my thing is, people are always going to say something no matter what. Even if you're like, so take Love Dorsey and Melody King, polar opposites, technically. Yeah. As far as how they present themselves. And but you look at the heat that Melanie's gotten. And she's gotten that from women too. So part of that is social media. And the way that you handle that is you network with like-minded people. And this is why I often tell people when people ask me, do you think you need to be in the manosphere like certain men? I say not necessarily, because it's not like it's a club where we're going to say you can't come on the panel because you're not officially a card-carrying member. You got people like the lead attorney, the Lapeef network that has their kind of extended network. Stick with that, because what I don't want is I don't want people to get the same baggage that the black manosphere has had. So we had to certain things we had to bear because of who we were. Like, so for instance, you don't see a lot of 1.0 guys anymore because some of them have legit moved on to great careers and stuff like that. And some of them, they lost their channels. They got to 30,000. It got deleted. And I'm talking about people that didn't even talk hardcore. I'm talking about people that did not talk hardcore as well. Somebody, they could talk like Uncle Stu. But because at the time they wouldn't hear none of it, and YouTube was YouTube. And then 2.0 came along, we had to restart it. And then luckily that didn't happen again, so people kind of build on it. But I often say, people don't care. So these dudes, the truth is going to get out there, but they don't have to carry the same baggage. Now, with that said, a lot of dudes, what they really want to do is go back to the Black Queen. We all just need to have a conversation. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that either. Because at the end of the day, there has to be accountability because we're adults.
Yes.
And women are coming to the
table. Accountability is not going to be, and see, that's one of the problems that I have. Even we're talking about this situation about the young lady, but I said, even if I was crazy enough to want to stay at that show, if I was her, my friends who were really friends would have said, TJ, get your ass out of here. But again, that's holding women accountable too. Holding women accountable is not if I care about you, I'm not going to tell you everything you want to hear. And it's because I'm not telling you everything you want to hear. That's actually a sign of me caring about you.
Yeah, but that's a problem. Women don't do that no more. Women are, and you've seen that on Kevin. Women are afraid to really check other women because they're afraid of the group coming down on them. Honestly, with that video, had she just asked the question, I mean that it went left really late. It went left in like the fourth quarter, even of that conversation. Had she just asked the question, followed up on it, and left it alone, that would have been it. She unfollowed him and she made that known. But what she sit there and did is she kept asking, and this is what's funny. They actually, it was one woman that actually checked another black woman on the show, not hard, but she said, you keep asking the same question over and over again, like the last woman did yesterday. And it's like, if people give you an answer, you can disagree with the answer.
And keep it moving.
But this that domination stuff, and to be fair, she was trying to be nice about it up until he started calling her names, and he started cycling through the alphabet of names. Bitch. Well, it started with "you're stupid. What is your problem?" And that was him trying to get her to stop. To be fair to Tommy, so that could have stopped in a lot of different things, but she was too committed. And I'm not trying to blame anybody. I'm really not. But Fresh and Fit knew where that was going. And yeah, like that's really on them. Like even Myron said, okay, great, let me jump in here. To be fair, he doesn't talk about everybody. I know, but that's all I see. They should have shut that down. And then they waited to the last minute when he came over there. Dude came over there, and then that's when she got bucked, because at that point he had called her like 5-6 different names. And so it's their show.
And Myron was laughing and smirking.
Oh yeah, I played that. I played that part.
Laughing and smirking. So ladies, don't quit playing yourselves.
I played it in slow motion because I'm sorry, shit is funny. If you played it like 0.4 playback speed, it's funny as crap. Because it's like, don't play me. And then you see Myron pop up, and he got that look. Because I know that look. That's that look when one of your siblings about to get the belt. And then you get that adrenaline, like, oh, it's about to go down because you ain't about to get hit. That I know the look. So
and like, oh, I'm gonna make some money off of this.
Yeah,
that's how I looked at it.
And here's some thing: what if Tommy would have hit her? Your show's gone at that point. YouTube ain't gonna stand by that. YouTube may because let's be clear, a woman hitting a dude ain't gonna carry the same track. Like women, people are mad because you imagine if let's say, she hit him, right? And then he decked her. You already know what's about to happen, especially with somebody like Tommy. Man, I saw some posts talking about we need to stop this violence against women, and I'm like, she hit him. Tommy didn't get a clean shot, but so we already know if he would have hit it, and especially with Tommy's rep. And it's like you about to lose a show over that, so you want to smile and be funny, but eventually somebody's gonna connect, and when it does, now y'all gonna be mad. So. Hey, they want to play Jerry Springer all they want to, but truth be told, there's a lot of blame to go. But I'm gonna keep it real with you. Personally, that doesn't even get in my mind. Well, that's how black women act. Because that's so far and beyond any black female I'm gonna be around. I don't even like technically charge that L to black women, because I know most black women are not gonna agree with how that blew up. So.
Right. And I'm gonna tell for all the ladies again. All the females. Be the difference between a female and a fleamale, FLEAMALE, is that behavior.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't see that being like even on now. I don't mean to keep mentioning the people network, but I don't really see that being a drag out argument like a clip. I don't like really. People can look at it from both sides and but still say that's just bad look on both black people's side, especially if you so.
RM, if people are getting nasty in the chat, please go ahead and kick them, because I don't do that over here. Hi, Simon.
Yeah, and I've told my folks to act right. Well, my folks are pretty good, for the most part.
They've been good. I appreciate the support. What you got, Simon?
I was just tuning in. Peace to TJ and Edward. I mean, like, the perspectives are interesting, but I gotta take it from another man's perspective, and it's just that it's not that straightforward in most cases. To be fair,
What's not? You talk about the Tommy situation.
Not sort of like the Tommy situation per se, but like I sort of bring it back to like what are our sort of perspectives. I mean, like, because like you spoke on a lot of stuff, bro.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to get specific on what do you mean, so I can know what you mean.
You spoke on a lot of stuff, but I was just trying to understand where you come from. Like, so like you're speaking on a lot of other people, but like what's been your experience? Like in terms of, you know, like these people you're speaking on. Have you been married? Have you had a relationship? Have you sort of, because you're cool on sort of like the whole speak say in terms of sort of like relating to other people, but I didn't hear anything about you. Like I don't. I was just quite interested in just like where you're coming from.
Yeah, so I'm not married. I'm not childless. I'm 35. I'm childless. I'm 35. I haven't really spoken on people getting married. Like that's why I'm trying to get specific on what do you mean. I have said a lot of things, but I haven't really charged one group or another group to anything.
Yeah, it wasn't about groups. It was more so about like you, like in terms of like, you know, like, do you understand what marriage is, or?
So we haven't really talked about. We haven't talked about marriage.
We're not talking about marriage. We haven't gone down that. So let's drill down. What specifically is the question?
But if you would like, but I'll say this: if you want to talk about marriage, because I guess you want my perspective on marriage, or because you keep leaning to marriage, I can give it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Okay, so I'm not 100%. I'm not against marriage, but I do believe the laws need to be adjusted. I believe the laws need to be adjusted for a modern context. Absolutely, they need to be. They need to be rewritten. They need to be adjusted. I have watched Divorce Court. I don't know if you've seen that documentary. It's a really good documentary.
I've been through Divorce Court, bro.
Divorce Corp. Like, as in, it really gives you an understanding of what are the incentives when it comes to a lot of the things that happen with marriage. For example, one of the things it says in Divorce Corp is because you have lawyers that they're interested in making the maximum amount of money possible, women may come into it not necessarily want to empty the bank, and they'll be convinced by lawyers. That's something that in the red pill space they don't consider. But the reality is, I didn't say anything whether somebody should get married or not. I will say this though. I think most black men, when they get married, they're not getting married for the right reasons. They're not thinking about everything they need to be thinking about when it comes to getting married. They get married with the very idea of it's never going to end. They honestly believe that. So they never plan for that. And to be fair, black people do the same thing with life insurance, and a lot of other things. So my advice to dudes that are getting married is really understand what you want to do, really understand what you get out of it. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I will tell you to talk to somebody that's already married. And by the way, most of the way I think about marriage is predicated on black men that are married or were married, or the reason they're not married is because their wives unfortunately passed away. That's actually what influenced me on marriage. But I didn't talk about marriage in this 3-hour conversation. That's not at all what I talked about. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Thank you. And you make a good point, Edward, because again, I talk about my daughter got married, and she has said specifically when she knew she wanted to be married, she went and sought out married people because she didn't see it from me because I wasn't married. So absolutely. And again, to that point, I don't agree with everything Kevin says, but I will agree with the point that single women keep women single, but you couldn't have convinced me of it when I was single. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and also another thing too, as far as this space when it comes to marriage, I said that there needs to be a purple pill space that should be, and this is verifiable. I was the one that said it. There needs to be a purple, and I say purple pill because this people did they understand the information and what we're talking about, but they still at the end of the day want a relationship that's long term. They want to take this and enhance that. not necessarily take it and go MGTOW, because MGTOW was rejected in the Black manosphere. One of the reasons that I get annoyed is because a lot of people, when they start calling women chameleons and all this other stuff, it's like, you all rejected this earlier on. You said it was gay, it was this, it was that. So I don't want to hear people coming. I ain't talking about you, because clearly you're not MGTOW. I don't want people coming up with MGTOW talking points and you're not really willing to wear that flag. Now, I'm not MGTOW, but I understand where they're coming from. At the end of the day, and I've said this before, men are going to want to do what they want to do. You can give them the information, you can give them the stats, you can give what, but at the end of the day, you have to respect that a man is going to do what they want to do. And this thing where it's like you start putting all this energy saying, "Don't get married. What's wrong with you?" I'm not doing all that. I'm like, if I think it's a hot stove, I'm gonna tell you to touch it. But you'll have the information. And by the way, that's when I originally started referring people to Anton, because I said, y'all look like y'all want to get married. The fuck you talking to me? You need to talk to somebody that's going to tell you how to get vetted, because they've been married. And that's how I actually originally got up with the Lepeef Network, at least as far as, because I was looking at Anton's personal channel. So I'm looking at a solution based on what you want to do. I'm not here to tell you what you want to do. I'm here to give you options. You do what you want, because you're not going to come back and tell me, well, I told you to do this. I'm like, you're grown. I know what I'm going to do. But I'm here to tell you, but I'm just here to provide you options and perspective. So I don't agree in the red pill space when people get very animated and angry when people want to have a marriage conversation, because at the end of the day, we have dudes in the Black manosphere that are married. We have dudes that were married. But I don't like when dudes also try to pretend like marriage is peachy and you just got to alpha your way through it, and anything a woman does is not your fault. That's bullshit too. And yeah, I'm gonna call that shit out, because I know they bullshitting when they say it. Or I have this joke saying, "Oh, you must be a nigga with nothing but daughters." Exactly, because usually I'm right when I say that, because they be advocating for their daughters through this space. Granted, I know people that are good to have nothing but daughters. Shout out to Black Guru, but so it's all about the truth, and people can take what they want with it. So that's kind of my views on marriage.
Thank you, Simon. I'm gonna go ahead and drop you down so I can get Truth and also Uncle Stu, because we've been going 2 hours and I want to be respectful of his time as well as those who are watching. I'm just gonna be honest. Thank you, Edward. I've never had this many people watching me at one time.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. So, Simon, thank you for coming. And always, I appreciate your support. And until next time, I'll go ahead and drop you off, okay?
Cool.
Okay.
And one quick thing I wanted to say too is, I say this all the time, and I've been saying this in the last fight that we've had, like with people kind of coming at it, everybody. One of the reasons, like Stu can attest to this, as soon as I saw he was close to like 900 something, I shared him. And I share a lot of different people because I can't speak for every perspective. Like, I can give you my opinions on marriage, but the reality is I'm not married. So you got people like Mr. Fantastic, which can be a little controversial, but he's been married. So I'm going to say on certain things, if you don't want to listen to what I got to say, don't. But I trust and believe I'm going to have a list of people that agree with what I'm saying, or most of it, that have it. Like, thank God for TLA as a divorce attorney, Dennis Sperling. I got people, older, younger, hell, Black Huru, the dude that I just mentioned, he's got nothing but daughters, married to a Black woman, 30 years. And he's been on my panel. So I got some person that can represent the experience or the background of what I'm talking about, even if people can kind of check me on certain things. Because who am I to talk about? Now, I won't talk about the military like that, because I've never been in it. Closest I've been to a base is Ubering people in the base. Camp Lejeune for Black. And I'm not going to talk about, and I got plenty of people that can talk on that. And generally I don't speak on kids, like raising kids, because I don't have any. Now, I may speak on the education system when it comes to these kids, because all these motherfuckers can't read, but whatever. But yeah, so I'll leave it at that. But yeah, but it was an honest question. But it shows you I'm not scared of it.
Would you like to get married?
I am open to marriage, but like I said, I want them laws to change. Or what I may end up doing is picking the right state. North Carolina is a great state for marriage. Like, you have very interesting laws. Like, do you know that women or people can sue the person is somebody? So let's say I'm married to my wife and my wife cheats on me with somebody else, I can sue that person. That's what happened to Fantasia. Fantasia cheated on somebody with somebody in this state, and the wife sued her. So North Carolina has very interesting laws, but that I think should be expanded. But certain states are better. To California, I wouldn't get married now. But
I wouldn't advise it.
But I got time. But I got time. I'm 35, so whatever.
And your auntie's on the case.
Just no fat chicks.
Your auntie's on the case, okay? I know people everywhere. Truth is never favored. How you doing this evening, nephew?
Good evening, Auntie. How you doing with that beautiful smile? I see you putting together another lovely show. How you doing, Miss Uncle Stu and Mr. Edward? How y'all doing today, sir?
How you doing?
Good. I'd like to thank Edward for coming on here, providing great information, informative. I learned something new today. A great state to get married in is North Carolina, because if somebody violates the individual that participated in the adultery, you can actually sue them. So learned something new today. See? That's why these spaces are good, because if you have an open mind, every day. As far as the controversy with the king of controversy, which is Tommy Sotomayor, it's a sad thing that so much chaotic situations are happening between, black men and black women. But I wasn't surprised, because look at the show that it happened on. That show is usually predominantly full of chaos and doesn't shine a good light on black women or black men. But we tend to gravitate to that chaos, and that's why those guys are actually rich, getting rich off of their content that we pay attention to. So pretty much it's not too much we could complain about that. I view both of them in a bad light, because I do not advocate violence between man and women or nobody. It's clearly you see that she struck him first, but he looked at very weak trying to break through another man to get at a woman. Not surprising by his nature, because he's very feminine. He's very catty. He goes at women just like Kevin Samuels. They both are very argumentative towards women in that nature. So it wasn't surprising to see him move in that manner. So that's what Tommy Sotomayor is. He gets very animated and lively with women versus men. And like Edward stated earlier, it has been several cases. Even Tommy had mentioned how some guys had waited for him and got violent with him. And where he would actually get the authorities involved, but you see he tried to attack that woman. So, I mean, it's a mess, but you see what type of, I don't call them men, males we're dealing with. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm not advocating for neither one. It's very disgusting for me and unfortunate.
Well, so the thing with Tommy is, the point is, it's a pattern. Like, I don't have to. One of my main misgivings on Tommy is the fact that I do not like. Tommy is not going to be a very good. I said this years ago. Tommy would not be a very good look to be the face of the space of this niche of what we're trying to talk about. And the reality is, because Tommy was first, because Tommy, let's be clear here, the majority of black men supports Tommy. I'm talking about audience wise. I've literally told people on my chat, and they will tell you, if you're subscribed to him, do not subscribe to me. And I said that in a lot more colorful language. I've said that over and over and over again. They're not going anywhere. So I gave up. They waited me out. But he has his fans. And because a lot of people think he's speaking of stuff that nobody else is speaking on. But the thing about it is, it's a pattern. And as a black man, you got to observe it from a pattern behavior. A lot of people want to look at it from a he ain't a real man standpoint. But I've seen women swing on dudes that are real men. I've seen dudes. I mean, I've seen dudes, like, not even in space, but Jason in space. There'd be some real crap, and they don't even do that to women at all. Like, and I'm not trying to really just be flagrant with names at this point, but if around, I mean, dude, like, I will say this to what you're saying, because I know you mentioned Kevin, and I'm not gonna get on here just straight up defend Kevin, but what I will say is dudes are not gonna sit here and just let women do anything they trying to do, and then we just supposed to sit there and then be stoic about it. Now, in that situation, personally, you know, the way she was going at it at first, that easily could have been handled in a different situation. But what happened was he got frustrated and he decided to start calling names and all of that. I would have got to the bottom of what you really talking about, because I would have said talking about and what are you really upset about. See, there was a lot of things that happened before that actually happened, like that, like, you know, before that show happened, that led up to that, that could have been handled differently. You know, on really Tommy's side. Now, people can say she shouldn't have brought it up, but she didn't bring it up really bad. It was the way it kind of ended. But I mean, you know, people can have their opinions on Kevin, but you know, when it counts, Kevin has talked to Tommy Lee, who is definitely a street chick. He's talked to Stormy Wellington, who is worth 8 figures. Legit. You see her with Grant Cardone and all of that. Grant Cardone ain't gonna be around nobody's bro, or they don't have no massive like marketing operation. And he talked to Nicki Minaj. When it counts, Kevin knows how to comport himself, and Kevin prefers to comport himself with class. But at the end of the day, Kevin's from the Oklahoma City projects too. And black women are not going to talk to dude. The way Kevin stuff usually start is not how that chick starts, where you're being nice. Then Kevin just start talking shit. The worst Kevin may get is don't over talk me. But Kevin ain't. I mean, shit. When's the last time Kevin really called a chick a bitch? Like on the show. Like, look at the names he used. When do you see that? Even on the greatest hits. Now, you can have your opinion about Kevin. I respect that. Like I said before, there's certain people that they want a different image represented, or a different image that's represented as well as Kevin, because Kevin's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. This is why I was very happy when Kwame started popping off, because I know there's a lot of salt of the earth, blue collar, man's brothers out there. And I always thought Kwame Brown got like the short end of the stick in certain ways. And I think at the end of the day, Kwame did 10 years in the NBA. You could call him a bust, but usually busts don't last that long. And so you got to respect this dude as a man that's kept his money and stuff. So I was definitely happy for him to blow up. And I hope he does. If he takes YouTube a little bit more seriously, he'll easily get to 1 million. But, you know, I can respect your opinion on what you're saying, Kevin is, but, you know, I don't, you know, to me, it's not the same, but I can see why you pull that out of it. I definitely can see that.
I mean, for me, it's just, I mean, I'm just a different type of man. I just move differently. And for me, where I come from, we don't get catty with women. Women tend to get emotional, and they tend to, you know, be very argumentative and talking. You're not really going to win an argument. So, I mean, to see a man just constantly go back and forth and get animated like how women get animated with each other when they're getting very hyped, going back and forth, it's not indicative of a man. I mean, it don't matter who it is. I mean, that's just from how I grew up. You feel what I'm saying? It's not to say that I allow women to get away with anything. You can ask my auntie; she knows me. You know, I'm a man's man, and I believe in respect, and I believe in a certain type of order as far as dealing with men and women. But there's certain things that men shouldn't do with women and how they interact with them. It's just that simple. You can address a person and let them know, hey, you know, I'm not going to deal with disrespect of any kind. But going back and forth and caddy, and you know, he kept edging it on. Like, you know how women go back and
Well, no,
forth.
you're right with Tommy. No, with Tommy, you're absolutely right. I agree with that, and his pattern shows that. But like when you look at how the shows, because to be fair, you're dealing with a physical situation, which also has like, you know, a social situation attached to it, which is different than what's like in a phone call. And so you don't want to just hang up on everybody as soon as they start acting up, because then you won't ever get a conversation. So it's a little bit different than like in a social setting. Now, me personally, you know, because look, I've made no bones about it. I'm short. So women always, well, women don't really try me like that, but compared to what you would think. But I'm not going to be around any women that have the propensity to start wilding out. I'm not really going to be around them. You may catch me off guard one good time, but because I'm not going to put myself in that situation, because I get what you're saying. Because part of that is what you're talking about as far as being a man, but at the same, I mean, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And by the way, that conversation needs to be had, because the problem is there's too many young black men or black men that they don't know how to handle it because society says to handle it a certain type of way. You know, you have your instincts on how to handle it a certain type of way, whatever that is, based on how you grew up. And nobody's really having that general conversation about all of the options that you do have. That's why I said that you can break that down multiple different ways, because you could talk about what happened before. You could talk about the fact that he flew them out in the first place because you knew how she was, because you saw her in the first time you were there. Talking about Tommy, because she acted a lot like that the first time. It just, he was putting her breast in his face and all of that. She was, yeah, I mean, it's in the first show. And it got to the point where other women had to try to get her to chill, and she almost got mad at other women. And so, does this mean all black women are like this? No. But it says a lot that that's the woman you decide you want to fly out, you know, for what? And that's really where I'm holding them at, is right there. Because she's not there if you don't do that. And here's another thing. She sat there and said, I don't like what you talk about black women. And at the end of the day, you still trying to have sex with me. But you saying all the stuff you saying about black women, they look like me. The hat, that boy, the hair, well, the hair, all of that. And I'm like, you get what I'm saying? And then what did he start doing? He started doing, because that's not the look. Let's keep it up, real talk. There's levels to weed. You can. I'm not an expert on weed, but I know you can get it sold in. I know, and all that costs a lot of money. So let's not act like there's not levels to certain stuff. But
there's levels.
Yeah, but my point is, and she even called it a wig. But as soon as Tommy got mad, he started saying, "You got a glue." Is it? You know, he went to his default, and so. It's a good conversation to have, because you can talk about, and that's what Kwame did. And no, I don't like Kwame just because he don't like Tommy, because I like Kwame before when he was gonna be cool with Tommy. So no, don't say that, Clue.
Okay, real quick, in truth, I'm gonna drop you down and let Uncle Stu go. One of the people is asking, how would you have handled it?
He's talking to Truth. You talking to Truth or talking to me?
Yeah, he's talking to Truth. I'm talking to Truth.
Handle it.
No, he's asking. I believe he's asking Truth how he would have handled the situation that Tommy was in.
Oh, well, for me, I mean, like he already explained it. For me, I don't hang around a certain type of woman. Like I don't have those type of women in my life where they behave like that. That's why I usually, I find it very offensive when I get on these spaces and women get on here and they're very disrespectful, over talkative, because I'm not used to it. I'm used to, if you carry yourself a certain way and respect is given, respect is usually reciprocated. So for me, that type of woman, I wouldn't even be around. Second, if she constantly stated something and you continuously hear her harping on something, obviously she's trying to pull an edge out of you. You feel what I'm saying? So you can tell when somebody's trying to egg you on. I'd have just dismissed her, because at the end of the day, supposedly he kept saying he was rich and she's not nothing. Then show her she's not nothing. Usually, for me, I give people attention that I care about. If you don't matter, I don't say nothing to you at all. Feel what I'm saying? So that's how I move.
Yeah, I would have said straight up. I would have told her this. I would have answered her question like he did. And as soon as she kept on going back and forth, said, okay, I know she feels some type of way about this. Clearly, she keeps saying it over and over. I would have been like, look, because I know Tommy has at least 10%, 15% of black women that follow him. I'm like, look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of women that think the way I think, and there's a lot of folks that communicate, that agree with how I communicated. And I know he said it's not for you. I'm like, look, at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. No matter what you say, I'm not going to do anything any different. And straight up, if you want to have this conversation later on and you want a more in-depth thing, we can do that. But there is nothing you're going to say right now that's going to get me to do anything different. And then this is what I would have did. I would let you have the last word. And then I would have looked at Myron being like, let her get that last word. And as long as she don't say nothing crazy. Because when she was first asking the questions, she wasn't. That got crazy when he started getting crazy. When he started saying, amping it up. And then I let Myron, we move on after that. That's how I do. I let you have the last word. Because that's what you giving them the power. As long as she didn't say, you a bitch ass nigga like that, I'd have been like, cool.
Hey, Auntie, can I address Snuggles?
Yeah, and then I need to move on to Uncle Stu because again, I
Okay.
want to be respectful of Edward's
So
time.
I don't know how young he or she think I am. I'm 37, and I've dealt with a plethora of women. So you're talking to the wrong one. I just know how to deal with women. I carry myself a certain type of way. Maybe the type of men you ain't hanging around are authentic men, or the men you know are authentic men. So you need to reevaluate yourself, Doug, or he or she, whatever. Take care. Thank you, Auntie. You have a good evening.
You too, hon.
All right.
And listen, to Truth's point, my husband's the same way. He's not gonna go, we don't have arguments. We have disagreements. But my husband he's the kind of man, he's just not gonna do that. He's not. So again, Snuggles, there are men out here that don't do that. I mean, and Edward has said that he wouldn't either. So again, but again, it's Tommy Sotomayor is not representative of all Black men, and we know this. Just like this young woman is not representative of all women. Uncle Stu, what you got?
I am not going to hold up this chat any longer because I came off of mine, so I had to come over here to represent.
No, it's fine. I mean, I'm here. Yeah, it's
no. Because what I came to do is to say, Edward, I am proud of you and I thank you, because what everybody don't know is, when I was sitting at 900 and you was cheering me on, pumping me up, and you got me over the 1K. So I'm just here to personally tell you thank you again, for what you did and continue to do. You continue to support, you continue to speak with love, compassion, knowledge, and wisdom. You keep it up. Us OGs, we got you. At least this old man got you, because I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And like I said, I'm just a thinker. I don't try to portray myself to be a leader in this space or anything. I'm giving my thoughts. People can take it or leave it. And like I said, I do, like to brag about it. I think I do share more people than anybody. Now, obviously, if you got somebody like an O'Shea or even like a Lapeef that have a bigger platform, you can get bigger push with that. But I think if everybody does a little bit, and I'm talking about with the people that they think are like-minded, have a passion about stuff. Like, for instance, with Uncle Stu, I'm in my sector of the space, it's always this thing about the old niggas, they say. And I've had people that I respect that get the short end of that stick, all the time. But and my thing is, okay, if you really feel that way, let's basically replace the people you don't like with the people you do like. So you get a more perspective that's more, what you claim to be helpful. Like I said, it goes back to showing what you want versus what it is, because there's great people out there. Like you would like Nick Taylor a lot. That people that everybody don't really know about. Black Huru is somebody that's not a content creator. So yeah, but like I said, I get what Truth is saying with the Tommy thing, but one thing we got to get out of is, man, I'm a man, I'm a real man. That ain't gonna happen. Look, man, I'd have had young dudes. I'd have had dudes that are like 6'2", 6'3", where these chicks have swung on them, and they think it tickles, and then they hit them with a 2x4 and they sleep. This is what these dudes have told me. Women gonna find a way to hurt you, and if they can't hurt you physically, they'll hurt you financially. That's why I always tell dudes that I have kids out of wedlock, because then you're at the mercy of women. You catch an FTD, which is another Edward Andersonism. An FTD is a financially transmitted disease, which is sending you to child support court. Because at that point, it don't matter what you tell that judge. You're dealing with a female judge, attorney, all that, and she gonna find a way to punish you. And I don't mean to say that babies are bad and stuff like that. What I mean to say is, if you have kids by the wrong chick because you playing, that goes both ways with dudes. The laws are set up to really mess you up. You knew who you were dealing with. Like when dudes say, like, perfect example. One of my pet peeves is when I hear a dude say, yeah, man, she crazy, but she a hot girl. That's how I like it. I tell him, at that point, everything she does to you is your fault. Because what you've told me, you know who you're dealing with. So if your car gets keyed, your tires get let out, she smacks you. Obsidian calls it, I don't mean to curse on your platform, but Obsidian calls it hate fucking. And there's a lot of dudes, there's a lot of black people that they like to hate fuck. and then they get on here complain, like people that like to argue didn't have sex. That's not the most healthiest thing to do. So.
But you know what, Edward? Here's the thing. And this is what I'm trying to grow y'all young folks to. As a younger person, I didn't know that you could actually have a relationship and not be angry and arguing and fighting and cussing and what you call angry fucking or whatever you call it. I didn't know that was possible because I thought, if we going at that, ooh, he must really love me. Stupid. So
And dudes do that too.
Look,
Dudes believe that too.
It's on both sides. And see, I can confirm with what he's saying because I lived in North Carolina 17 years. So I do know the marital laws in North Carolina. He's absolutely right on that. Anderson spoke on this case. I know the case, the Duke Lacrosse case.
Oh, yeah.
People threw me under the bus because I said I didn't believe the girl from the very beginning. And
you
that
probably
case,
got the coon word thrown
right.
at you.
And that case was so controversial that even to this day, it still got issues on both sides. And that's a domestic violence situation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that
was straight up. I mean, and she went after the wrong people.
Yeah, because those are like rich white kids, and it got real political. I mean, even the prosecutor ended up getting disbarred, and that's an interesting case.
Mayor got kicked out.
Yeah, that predates a lot of stuff. Like a lot of the Me Too. That was way before really Me Too like that. So
yeah.
Here's another thing. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out as we wrap this up. But you make a very good point, and I say this to the women too. You talk about the men. If you say, whatever you get is whatever you get. I say that with the women and why I can say that is because. Say again.
No, I was reading what she wrote.
Because I've been stupid. So if you want to, get growed real, but again, to that point, I didn't have another kid, and for all these men's out here, it is possible not to fall victim to manipulation. I don't give a lot of credit. I mean, I'm not going to say, I don't talk about my ex-husband, my daughter's father. It's not my place to do, but I will say this one thing. So again, it is possible, just like it was possible for me not to get pregnant again out of wedlock, it's possible for men not to have children out of wedlock either. I have one daughter. He has one daughter. We have one child together. Our child is 27 years old, about to be 28. He ain't had another kid. Why? Because he ain't been married, and I guess he didn't want to go through that again. So it's possible. It's possible on the men's side, and it's possible on the women's side.
Yeah,
wow. Shout out to Chicago Willa.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though most dudes will probably say, women control sexual selection, stuff like that, if you look at the statistics, like 53% of black men don't have kids. The ones that do are married, or at least were married. Like they're married, or they have kids, whether it's in that marriage or it's with somebody else, or at least codified in marriage. So you really have 18. We know a certain percentage of black men are in jail at any given time, or prison, which let's say like 5 or 6%, because that's going down. That's been trending down. And some of them do have kids. So you're really looking at what we call a sperm donor class. And women will openly say it. See, the older women used to be smart. And when I say older women, they're older now, but the reality is they came up in the 90s, early 2000s. They used to be smart, where they wouldn't they wouldn't be goofy about what they said. Now you got women, because of social media, they're openly saying, I wanted the baby, but not the man. I just wanted a sperm donor. And they think people like this is what you see with Kevin. When you call Kevin and they start, that's why a lot of women can't stand Kevin, because they're like, why are you females snitching like this? Like, why do you just get bright lights and y'all just tell you the whole story? What makes you do that? It can't be this nigga. Like, because they keep doing it till this day. They keep doing it. And that's really why people are mad. Perfect example. We didn't know in the black manosphere that women were getting all these proposals. So a lot of us would buy into the idea, or at least we wouldn't completely decimate the idea that black men were not marrying these women, because we're like, yeah, man, why would they? Because blah, blah, blah. This is the red pill conversation. But we know there's a lot of dudes that wanted to get married, but we didn't know that it was all these proposals. So it's like, here's the thing. Either you're lying, or if I take you at your word, dudes are not sitting here withholding marriage like you think it is. It's probably not the absolute dude you want. But some of these dudes are prepared to get married. Dudes don't typically offer marriage if they know they're completely not ready. So I'm not saying this is for every chick, but I know if you got X amount of chicks talk about I'm getting proposal after proposal after proposal after proposal, you're not gonna tell me you got 4 proposals and like all 4 of them dudes are just completely subpar. You're just not gonna see that.
I'm just gonna say that, you know, be mad or not, and again, I have nothing to confirm this, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that maybe if whatever proposal they turned down, they thought they could do better.
Yeah. And I get it because they were younger and all of that, but the point of that is saying that we didn't know that. That's probably one of the biggest to me small contributions that Kevin Samuels made was that, because there were certain things once you got women talking, and there's a difference between women coming up on a panel and women talking to a dude. And there's a certain energy that Kevin carries. Like they can't talk to me, because if they start doing that BS with me, I'm gonna start drilling them too. And dudes want to call that cattiness, but at the end of the day, if you're here trying to advocate, you want to have a candid conversation, and people want to BS you. Nicki Minaj said that first. She said the videos they were showing me, these women are acting funny that you're checking. So she kind of understood why he was doing it. That's one of like the first 2 minutes of that video. She said the videos that were being shown, which we know are the Kevin Samuels greatest hits, because that's what they always show, the TikTok, the YouTube, that's what she referenced later on. Those are the ones who check, because they are being funny. They know what it is, and they know when they're lying. It's like you talk to a dude who's like 50. You're not talking to like a 35-year-old. You talking to somebody that know he's been married twice, he's got a kid, he went to college, he's been you know, it ain't like, you know, he's got experience. And it's kind of like, we're here to have a candid conversation. You don't want to have that. And Tommy Lee said I'm a street walker and I'm a hustler. Kevin didn't say, well, you shouldn't be that, blah, 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 blah. He asked her directly, would you be happy if a man worked at Burger King? She said, yeah, because you never know. He could have a brick coming. The point is, she know what she want and why she want it. And she's cool with that. That's why Stormy Wellington didn't have nothing for him, because when he started to say, well, a woman can be a boss this and boss that. He said, cool, I get it. You earn that. Every woman gonna be a millionaire though? And she ain't had nothing to say, because she know that's not true. You know, so if you can get there, good. I mean, nobody is saying that if you pay the cost to be the boss as a woman, you need to be in a woman's place. That's not what nobody's saying. Now, for your own happiness and quality of life, because having a whole bunch of money and nobody to share it with, that's going to affect women a certain type of way. And truth be told, that will affect dudes a certain type of way too. Mm-hmm. Dudes are more capable of dealing with being alone, but humans are not meant to be alone either. So dudes have a limit. So when dudes start getting 50, 55, that's usually, or 45, that's when they start changing that tune a little bit, coming back to what you were talking about with the companionship piece. But women, because men at that point, they may have older age, but if they keep their body right or something, they can negotiate with a little bit more. Versus women can't negotiate with a little bit more unless they pay the cost to be the boss. Your degree ain't going to buy you out of that. It's not, you know.
Get your mind right. Courtney put something in here. I think it was for Ace Butterfly, who asked about the statistics. So here's the website here, and she also dropped this one. Okay, it's in the chat. You can find some of that information. And here, you're absolutely right, because again, Mr. Randolph, we talk about the fact that, you know, he's in wonderful condition, so he could have, you know, got what he wanted. And I had to make sure my stuff was together because I was competing. I know that's kind of random, but I just, you know, just throw
well, I tell you this. I will say this: as somebody that's 35, like if I give advice to dudes, there's a guy by the name of Titus Unlimited. There's an older dude, so he's an example of this when it comes to fitness and stuff. He's a good, like, this is what I want to be when I get this age, as far as having my shit together and stuff. But yeah, you need to start like in your 30s at the late. You can't, don't try to get it together when you're 40. There is a wall for dudes too. And you know, I'm not gonna act like that doesn't exist. And it's a fine line between being a weirdo old nigga trying to, you know, especially if you ain't got the money to back that up. That's a fine line. I mean, even certain celebrities like Omarion. Omarion was the dude when I was growing up. He trying to talk to a 20. He was trying to talk to a 21-year-old. It was a chick, an Instagram chick, and she tried to put him on blast. Now he was still Omarion, and she wasn't nobody. She ain't even nobody you know. But just that, it's not always a good look. So, but at the end of the day, I'm all about outcomes, and I'm gonna argue this stuff. And if you want to prove I'm wrong, show me I'm wrong. I'm not above being proven wrong. But understand, I've had these conversations amongst people that know what they're talking about for a long time. Like, I'm glad we got the lawyers in here. I'm glad we got the PhDs in here. I'm glad we got more business folks in here. Shout out to Pocket Watching with the accounting professionals in here. Because now we can't play the you don't show your face, y'all don't do this, you can't have that conversation. You got to actually address the actual point. And we know if those points are addressed, not only do we black men win, everybody wins that wants the truth to get out there. So that's really what I got.
Last point is, again, outcomes. And I understand women, we would get, I was kind of salty when I heard KS talk about weight and what have you, but I had to think about it. This is a little levity before we end. I had to think about it because I'm a tooth snob. You see these pearly whites? Mm-hmm. I've never had braces. So I'm like, when I met Mr. Randolph, because I had a bad experience with a man who didn't have all his teeth. And that was a problem for me. So when I met Mr. Randolph and we had our conversation, I was like, is it too much to ask for a man to have all of his teeth? Is it too much to ask for a man not to have man boobs? So he let me know that it's not too much to ask. So my point being, it's not too much to ask for a woman to be fit. I had to think about it like that because, again, just like I have my expectations, I wanted a man with all his teeth. If I'm talking to you and you have spaces, that's a problem for me.
And I'm going to say something that's going to be real controversial, but I want to get this out because this has been a new theme on my channel. I'm very, very libertarian when it comes to the dating market. I actually promote divesting because if black women believe they can do better somewhere else, I want to make it very clear. There is no hidden black male authority keeping them from moving. The truth is, if what we're saying, them other group, it don't matter what we say, you'll find out. And I'm not, look, here's the truth. If you don't have a kid over there, you can slide back. Listen, most dudes, it's the kid that'll mess you up. If you have a mixed kid and think a dude's going to do that. But if you don't have a kid, nobody has to really know. But my point, because anyway, I'm not going to go ahead and that. But what I will say is, at some point, if what we're saying is valid, you're going to have to address it with somebody. So if you believe you can do better than black men, I've told SYSBN this. I think SYSBN should be absolute cheerleaders of that. Because at some point, you're going to have to stop having the black male ain't shit conversation. If you're trying to go get you a non-black man. Like, so at some point, so if you have to address these points to get you a non-black man, that means for the black men that qualify, these points were valid the whole time. So when I hear women that talk about you can't have the black girl attitude or you can't do this and do that. Oh, so you don't understand that we don't want that shit either? So you have to, so either way, no matter how you try to play it, as long as the deception's not there, one way or another, this truth is going to get out. No matter what you try to create these little prescriptions to try to en route it, I call it musical chairs. And that music is playing and eventually it's going to stop. Because here's the thing. The environment is what controls everything. And the reason why one of the reasons he got big, and a lot of you see this space in the way it is now, is because the environment has shifted. And so it's not like the 2000s where it was a lot of money and a lot of stuff. It's not the 2010s where it's Obama and everybody's like, oh, everything's great. No, you got to deal with real stuff. You got this high inflation. You got this gentrification. It's automation. It's so many things that's collapsing at the same time. And a lot of the folks, it ain't just women, your Derek Jacksons of the world, that's telling people what they want to hear, that's detrimental to people's quality of life. So they need the truth. And so either way, the truth is going to win. That's why however you want to bring it, and it's the same thing with dudes. If dudes sit there and say, black women ain't that bad, it's just y'all not a man. Okay. All right, it's the scorpion and the frog. You know, at the end of the day, what I'm talking about, if that's who they are, that's going to show up. These women can't pretend forever. They pretend till they get you, and they get you. So if you sit there and you want to say, oh, she crazy now, but she won't crazy with me because I'm a man.
The hell you say, listen, the hell you say, because again, Mr. Randolph said, you know, and I said the same thing. We have been consistently the same people. And when you get to a point that you know yourself, accept yourself, and are real about your flaws and all, you present who you are.
Yeah.
And either they're going to accept it or they're not. But don't be bull crapping and perpetrating a fraud and bringing your representative. But listen, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much, Edward, for coming on. Thank you, Uncle Stu, for coming in. And I thank everybody in the chat that came through for the super chats. This has been so much fun. Thank you, Edward, for making me feel comfortable. Because, you know, I swear you could really be my nephew. I'm just saying. You could. You got that look. Because, you know, we come in all different colors. But thank you for coming on. If you all could, if you think anybody could benefit from what we're talking about, please share it. And if you're so inclined, I really appreciate if you would subscribe to my channel. Last words, Uncle Stu, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Edward.
My last words is, once again, thank you, sir, and hopefully I have you coming over to my channel next.
No, absolutely. I'll definitely make the rounds. I gotta get my channel from being raggedy. I've been lazy about that. So
I don't think you're from what I have seen, heard, and I've been listening to you for a while. You know, I've been listening to you for a while. Number one, you're speaking to the people that you need to speak to, and you're an extremely intelligent young brother. You know how to argue the points. You make it very crystal clear. I don't care if the person is 55 years old or 25 years old, you're hitting the mark. And the fact that you're even changing your, you know, when I say changing, meaning, hey, I'm coming out, I'm willing to go anywhere that someone wants me to go and deal with any subject or issue. You're acknowledging people that other people wouldn't know. You're out there, you're being totally honest, and you admit it. Hey, you're 35 with that intelligence. Bro, I give you all the flowers in the world. And just like what you asked me, I'm bringing it right back to you.
No, I appreciate that, man. The last thing, you know, I appreciate that. I do. But you know, excellence is always key, and we always try to just strive to, you know, do better, right? So I will say this. The last thing I'm going to say, it's been a great conversation. There is no reason you shouldn't share it because this is very share friendly. I've worked very hard to minimize do that.
With some C-Rock in them, right?
and what the last thing I will say is this. One of the things people need to understand about this conversation. I understand that certain people when I say got to it late, I mean, I'm talking about getting on YouTube with the way stuff is right now. But I don't know. I may do after stream. I'm not sure. But the Z's, my youngest brother is 20, will be 26 in like 10 days. The Z, he's actually a leap year kid. So I don't know if his birthday is actually on the day or not this year. But the Z's are like a year younger than him. So in 5 years, the Z's will occupy the prime dating market as far as women being in their prime. The Z's are not having this. The Z's are not millennials. Millennials grew up with the girl next door mentality, meaning we were given that imagery when it comes to like your Brandies, even like Monica, who's probably more street, was kind of forced to fit that image because that's what the time was. The Z's and I grew up in that time. So for people, whether it's men or women, that think we got like a long time to kind of get this right and get candid, you don't. Because if you look at what they're doing, they're not doing what millennials were doing. They're not talking. They are operating like the red pill without us, just by proxy of what they see. You see what the music is now. You see what the music is now versus like before in the 2000s versus the 90s. We know ain't nobody, it's there. And that's what they grew up with. Not to mention social media, where they grew up, where we still had networks as far as schools. They got the whole county, the whole state, musically, TikTok, World Star is, you know, all this crazy stuff. We didn't have that. People are seeing that. Not to mention the women with social media, they all the crazy stuff. You know how it's affecting people. And so if y'all really want to get it right, it's not a lot of time to get it right. And I'm not here to be negative, but I'm here to kind of remind people that this is not going to be a generational thing, and every generation is different, and we can't really control what they do. So this is why I've always pushed for more younger folks to get on here. I want to see more 19, 20, 21-year-olds in this conversation, because they can speak at their level that I can't. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to add that, this was a great conversation. No, don't expect me to cam up all the time. This was a special occasion, and I will more. But yeah, just like this. Like, I got this up. Like, this is coming down as soon as I get done with this. And I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate being here.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Y'all go get some dinner if you haven't already, because we've been chatting. But thank you so much. And until next time, we are out of here. And I'm going to do my outro. Thanks to Micki-Redd. Y'all have a good one.
All right. Salute.